Hello, everyone, and welcome to round number 3 of the 2014 Touring Pro Series Virtual Mini Challenge. We are here at the fantastic Oran Park circuit in Australia, a circuit that is sadly no longer in operation, but certainly coming back to life in the world of virtual sim racing. Apologies for the delayed start of the broadcast. Unfortunately, we had one or two audio technical problems that we've managed to fix very promptly. Scott Woodwiss here once again to lead the commentary, and alongside me for this race weekend is not Robert Wiesenmuller. He's currently unavailable, but instead we have a favourite of TPS and of course the favourite of us in the commentary team. It is Lewis McGlade. So Lewis, good to have you on board, and how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, I'm good, and it's good to be here for VMC. Of course, you know the season looking good so far with the top load in the championship, and looking at how things are going to run so far, it's looking like we could have a good evening. But you know, this track a very difficult one to tame, especially in these cars. Just some of the turns are really awkward in a front wheel drive car, but you know that's why. Some of the drivers all the drivers on the grid are very good drivers. You know, they're supposed to learn how to drive this kind of track, and it's going to be tough out there. But hopefully, we are going to have some good racing. Turn 1 will be an interesting one to look at, though.
Yeah, turn 1 is a rather intriguing circuit corner in itself. It's pretty intriguing because a lot of these drivers are having to try to trail brake. You can see, I'm just watching some of the guys, they're literally throwing the car through turn 1, obviously into the braking zone, so that's going to be a real hustle into the first couple of corners on the opening laps to make sure these guys do not end up in the scenery and keep it on the road at least. Certainly be a challenge for some of the drivers out there, but of course for some of the front runners in the championship, I'm sure they will take it all in their stride. Speaking of the championship, standings probably aren't going to work. I think actually no, they're not going to work. Actually, no, they might do if we quickly take off. For the moment, we minimise that and bring the standings on the screen. So this is currently, if you can see it, how the championship stands coming into the third round race meeting of the series, and it is Adrian Campfield and Paul Patrick currently leading the way as Walk Racing really have dominated things so far with their 7-car lineup. Adrian Campfield currently leads the standings with 113 points compared to Paul Patrick's 107. Jesper Tolborg for THR Red is currently third with 96 points ahead of Tom Ely in fourth with 81. Then Peter Hennenberg in fifth, rounding out the top 5 with 70. Then Chris Butcher at sixth with 69. Then, of course, he's hoping for better fortunes after a rather kind of mixed start to the season. Then 7th for Jimmy Hughes, 8th for Gus Verver, 9th for Matty Orban and Diogo Silva, rounding out the top 10. A couple of notable names outside the top 10. Ryan Callan in 11th with 28 points, and John Monroe 14th with 22 points. So these guys certainly trying to get themselves back up through the field. If we quickly scroll down, I'll show you then have a look for the team standings, if I can find them. I have to scroll across here for a second. Bear with me. Apologies for the slight unprofessionalism of this one. Up so you can see exactly how they stand. Middle, there we go. Move it across a bit more to the left. Perfect. Right. So, team standings. Walk Racing currently leads with 220 points, with THR Red in second. Walk Racing DK, which is full of just the Danish drivers in the team, with 86 points themselves. Puppy Racing are fourth with 77. Very impressive start for them, of course, going forward to the likes of Oscar Harbeck, who is not here tonight due to other personal commitments. But certainly Tom Ely is. Walk 2 Racing is 5th with 67 points. Then Mad Cape Racing Red, the best of the South African teams in the standings, 6th with 57 points. And Optus Sim Racing Beta in 7th. Their Alpha team is 8th with GT Competence only 9th, and THR Orange rounding out the top 10. What we'll quickly do then is take you on track, as we can now bring up. If we then bring it back on screen, apologies again, we'll bring up GameStop car once again. There we go. Right, so there is our on-track action, and the current fastest is, as you'd expect, Adrian Campfield at the top of the times, 118.594, ahead of his teammate Paul Patrick, 118.719. Peter Hennenberg third. Eric Strana, who is not racing. Let's just make it clear. Eric Strana is not racing in the series. He's just out there just had a bit of fun practicing in the series, which kind of got us all our hopes up, and then they were all dashed when we found out that Strana is not competing. We all had all a collective sigh in the TeamSpeak server. Kind of, oh, really? And Ryan Callan rounding out the top 5. So far, Lewis, once again, as we've had throughout the season, Walk Racing certainly setting the pace, but it is improved pace from both Hennenberg and especially Ryan Callan. So good to see that they've at least picked things up in the 2 weeks since the night races at Zolder. So they certainly could be prominent features in tonight's 2 races here at Oran Park.
Yeah, I'm still curious about Eric, because I know Strana, who obviously for those of you champion last season of VMC, he's still here in the server, and I would have thought that, you know, bearing in mind that qualifying begins in only 5 minutes' time, I would have thought that he would have left the server by now. So who knows? Who knows what's going on with Eric Strana? But yeah, no, the top lot, it's all looking pretty interesting. Tom Ely though, down in 17th position. I don't really know, and down there with John Munro as well. So Tom Ely, who had obviously pole position in their first race last time, so he's clearly dropped a lot between events and really needs to find some time before qualifying.
Well, he won't do it like that. He's just been since the tyres up at turn 1, I presume. So that's not exactly a great end to his practice session, but not exactly the sight he wants to see either. But he's now quickly just escaped back to the pits, and he's now obviously thinking about what he wants to do with the final 4.5 minutes of the practice session before they head out to qualifying. Rest of the top 10 we've got so far. In 6th is Ben Haxon. Then, of course, we've got, as we scroll through, Jesper Tolborg back in 7th. Javier de Carvalho, best of the Mad Cape cars in 8th. Improved performance from him. Good to see him up there in the top 10. Gus Verver and Klaus Neering, then the two. Gus Verver from Holland and Klaus Neering, one of the two Danish drivers in the walk racing team to make up the top 10 in that one. A couple other guys outside the top 10 currently so far, in practice at least. John Monroe back in 16th place. As we said, Tom Ely 17th. Luis Fernandez 19th, just behind Jimmy Hughes. And of course, John Oscliffe again, he showed some great pace back at Zolder, 22nd in his time. So there's a few guys out there, Lewis, that really, in practice at least, aren't exactly showing themselves their true pace. But I guess again, practice is more of a time to kind of tune the car in. And of course, you've been part of the virtual minis before. So in terms of for Smile Power Racing, in terms of what generally teams go through in practice, is it just setup work? Is it just bedding the car in to get a feel for the circuit? What procedures do teams in the virtual mini challenge go through to get themselves ready for qualifying and ready for the race weekend that they haven't done throughout the 2 weeks practicing on the server?
Well, I mean, setup in these cars, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. It's really subtle. It does make a difference. If you're running on default and you're running on an actual setup, then obviously you're going to have some difference with tyre pressure and stuff like that. But it doesn't make the biggest world of difference to change setups from track to track. I think it's more so in 2013 than it was in Game Stock Car 2013, that is, than Game Stock Car 2012, which we were using last season. But it's more things like practicing for qualifying that some teams will be doing, where you might see two teammates running around in this practice session together. They're practicing slipstreaming for qualifying just to give them the overall best position, and it's just about learning and getting back into the flow of the track, especially considering some people might have only just gotten home from work or from school or whatever, and it's just about getting back into the rhythm of the track, which is the most important thing in these cars, is to get into the rhythm.
And how difficult is that for these minis? Because of course you said they're very fixed setup. Of course it's a bit of a different beast. This Peter Hennenberg just keeps on 2 wheels and just about keeps it off the barriers. That's a rather impressive piece of car control there from Mr. Hennenberg. 4th quickest, 118.990, just to mention that. But yeah, just how difficult is it to get into a rhythm with these cars? Of course, limited setup work you can do on these things means that you don't get much chance to really properly dial yourself in. You kind of have to, if there isn't much to change, you kind of also have to kind of adapt your driving style to the car rather than the other way around. So is it difficult to find themselves into a groove with these minis, or is it effective because there's less setup parameters, it's easier to kind of find the limits of the car and therefore easier to kind of find some consistent lap times once you get yourself settled in?
These cars are really kind of tricky. You were talking about trail braking earlier and learning all that. What I found with these is it's easy to get into a rhythm, but it's even easier to get out of that rhythm. It's really hard to get back into the rhythm once you've gotten out of it. And when you've got places where you have to trail brake, such as into turn 1, it's really easy to kind of get out of the rhythm, because you can't just like dab the brake, lift off, then turn in, because the car starts to slide. You need to keep on the throttle or the accelerator whilst going through a turn, otherwise the car starts to slide, it starts to unbalance, and it's really not very good. So it's that's the thing, is that it's easy to just get out of that rhythm, as Diego Silva, I see, has gone up into 6th position. But yeah, that's my thing, is it's not too easy to get. It's not too difficult to get into one. It's just really easy to get out of it, which I think you'll see in the race. You'll see a few people that might get knocked out of their rhythm, and then they'll obviously start dropping back, and they probably let it get to them, and then will drop back even more. And it's really easy to do, especially on a track as complicated as this.
And that's a good point, of course. Oran Park in itself is a relatively short track. Of course, these guys are only doing 1 minute 18 lap times. Of course, anything faster, you're probably heading into the territory of doing possibly anything less than 1 minute 10. But of course, we're only in minis, which means that the lap time, of course, will speak for themselves. But I mean, this is a relatively short track. It's one of the only circuits in the world that has a crossover, so that's a defining feature. The only circuit that I actually know that is obviously the only circuit left in operation, in fact, that still has a crossover is, of course, Suzuka in Japan. But this circuit itself, it has a character to it, it has a charm, and it has a certain way you have to drive it. And I'm not sure what experience you have of driving Oran Park at all, Lewis, but I mean, what are the key areas of this circuit that drivers are going to have to be looking out for? Because, of course, turn 1 is a key run towards there, having to trail brake and get it under. But, of course, around that section going up, over, and under the bridge, they're also key sections. And also a key section also is going to the dog leg towards the final corner, because that is a really tricky one, especially as you go over the crest. And it is, of course, a blind entry into the second apex. So, effectively, you can't see what the rest of the road until you get to the top of it.
Yeah, I've never actually raced here. I've driven here quite a bit, but I've never actually, raced here wheel to wheel. But turn 2 is obviously going to be very, very important. Which obviously you got the kink of 1, which goes into 2. Those two, you've got to not really treat as like one corner, but it's one flowing section. And probably the most important corner of that is 4, which gives you the run up and over the bridge, which is actually. It's a deceptively difficult corner because you can understeer off, same as like at turn 3. It's very easy to understeer off of the track. So those two are quite difficult as well. I think really other than that, it's not a particularly difficult track. 6 can be a bit difficult because you don't really want to be braking or accelerating too much around there. Which obviously, as I said earlier, if you're not doing either of those, you're generally sliding the car, and that's never too fun. And you say about the dogleg, which is 10, 10, 10, 11, right at the end of the track. That is easy. I think it's easy towards the beginning of the stint because it's easy flat out. But towards the end of the race, especially when you're pack racing, that's going to become slightly tricky. And then of course you've got the final turn, which is this. It gradually goes and climbs up quite a steep hill. To be honest, this left-hander at the end of the track, and that one can be quite a difficult one to get right, especially as you got to use the best drive off of it. And there's a little bit where the wall goes a bit further away from the track, and you can use that as quite a nice run-off and down the back straight. So turn 12, quite a difficult one as well. But as I say, for such a short track, there's a lot of difficult corners here.
This is the first in turn 1 in towards Coca-Cola corner, this entry corner. It's a rather long radius corner, but you have to get back on the path fairly early as you ride on board with Paul Patrick. The man's got completely clear air. Underneath the Yokohama, what is now effectively it's called the Dunlop Bridge, but it's sponsored by Yokohama, so go figure. Then we go to turn 3, which is, of course, that is Shell corner. Heading towards the next corner, turn 4, which is Champion Curve. There is a kind of an extra kind of layout here where you can go through a little chicane, but decided to bypass that for this occasion. Paul Patrick now heading up through the Dunlop Bridge and in through the right-hander as you head across the bridge and now back towards the next section, which is Foster's Dip, which is now the right-hander through here, which then goes around to the right, then jinks back off towards the left, and then we head down towards the next left-hander, of course, on the circuit, which is now the Momo corner. Left-hander, almost a nice degree radius. You head back down towards the dog leg, again up towards the apex, and look at this, on the crest you cannot see the rest of the road until the edge of the track, until you get through it, most of it, and then the final corner to head through. This is Recaro corner, heading up, as Lewis said, use the apex and the track, the tarmac on the exit, and power your way back on towards the start and finish line to set the lap time. Across the line, Patrick comes, and a good initial benchmark, 1:18.731. Crawford then and Klaus Neering coming behind. Jesper Tolborg's first lap time is only a 1:19.199. And as we saw in practice, Lewis, the walk racing cars have the top 4 spots. So these guys are effectively they are certainly going to be fast to beat, as we have been for the past couple of races. But the likes of Hennenberg and Callan certainly have stepped up their game, as we said, and they really are challenging Patrick and Crawford up at the front, and Patrick and Campbell up at the front for best of the rest in terms of the walk racing team.
Yeah, I'm still. If I were to lean towards anyone for pole position, it's obviously got to be one of either Patrick or Campfield. We're not really sure which one, but it's going to be one of those two, I feel. It's the best of the rest kind of competition, which I feel from what I've seen pre-event, Ryan Callan actually might be the one to take that, but we'll have to wait and see. But Yeah, I don't see anyone else taking pole position because those two have been so quick in these cars ever since they joined the series, which I think was back in Velo Park last season, if I recall correctly. But these two have just been ridiculously quick all season, especially this year with those two taking all 4 of the wins. I believe it's 1 to Patrick and 3 to Campfield, if I recall correctly. The first of the season going to Patrick and the 3 afterwards going to Campfield as Patrick returns to the pit lane. He's currently done that 18.731, hasn't improved on it, as his second lap was a 19.0. And the second time, this is how big the split is. The second time is 4 tenths off, and I believe pole position hasn't been taken this season by more than a tenth and a half. I think it is something like that. It's definitely not been over 2 tenths this season. So qualifying can be really close, especially when quite a few of them have actually been under a tenth of a second between pole position and second.
It does also show the quality of the field in VMC this season. Of course, it does show that there are some very top-line drivers out there fighting for the top spot. Talk about Ryan Cannell, of course. Last time he was here at Oran Park, back in 2010 in the Virtual V8 Supercar Series. Started P5, ended up P16, and that was in the Paul Morris Motorsports V8 Supercar. But of course, that was back some 4 years ago, over 4 years ago, in fact, because that race took place back on the 10th of March. So it's been 4 years since Ryan Cannell has been back at Oran Park, as it has been for quite a while for some of these guys. But Oran Park, of course, is a well-loved circuit. Of course, it's one of the best out there for what was one of the best for Australia. Of course, now we're left with circuits, of course, like Phillip Island and, of course, Bathurst, Mount Panorama, which is where we get to end most of our top series, like the Virtual Touring Master Speed and the Virtual Carrera Cup. But Oran Park certainly has a unique charm to it. Again, the crossover, certainly a defining feature. Not many circuits out there that have it. And it is a circuit that, of course, it requires... The tight and technical sections certainly mean that for a circuit car like this, Lewis, with the Mini, you would have thought possibly with a small car, very tight technical track, you would have thought it would be quite a good combination, but for some of these guys out there, they seem to be struggling a little bit for pace that you would normally see up the front, and it seems to be the case with this Mini on Game Stock Car 2013, which is, we've moved from Game Stock Car 2012 to the 2013 variant, and some of these guys don't seem to have taken it to it like some of these other guys, like Patrick, like Campfield, like Talborg, and even Ryan Callum moving forwards. They seem to be struggling a little bit, and because of that, they're not exactly showing the same turn of pace that we expected from them compared to seasons gone by.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is these cars are different to the 2012 Game Soccer 2012 ones. These ones, it's not the biggest difference. It's just the way the engines change. Well, same kind of engine, but the way the whole build has changed of the game from the previous version, and that's what's made these feel just a little bit different. And that slight difference, because of where these cars were. With subtlety, that slight difference can affect a driver an awful lot, and Paul Patrick's really got on hold of it, and obviously you say Ryan Callum up in second position as he's just been joined in P3 by Goose Verver, which makes Walk Racing basically have the top 4 slots between them, which is very, very impressive. But it's the subtle differences with these cars that's made some people so dramatically, some off the pace, some still on it, some even faster, as it were. So yeah, that's the big differences really. It's just the subtle changes that make the big differences. As Ben Hackerson moves up into 5th position, that's a very impressive drive so far from the Optimum driver.
Absolutely, Opta really have come on strong. They had a great weekend back at Zolder a couple of weeks ago, of course, and really had some strong performances from the likes of Ben Haxon, and also, in fact, included in that was Jonathan Ossercliffe with a couple of great races from him. But Opta really have turned up the wick and have stepped up their game in terms of the pace they're showing, the practice they put in, and it seems to be really paying off. As Adrian Campwood only goes to 7th, he's been struggling to set a quick time in this qualifying session, which does surprise. Because you would have thought possibly with the quick times he was setting in back in practice, maybe that he either just can't find a clear lap in terms of traffic, or possibly because he's having issues with the car and making 1 or 2 unnecessary mistakes. But with just under 2 minutes left to go in the session. It is, of course, Paul Patrick, who's currently still quick. He's still out there circulating. He will be joined on the front row at the moment, provisionally, by Ryan Callan. A great increase in pace to see him back to his best of what he was a few seasons ago. Although classing the wall like the edge of the circuit like that certainly won't do that. And I think you'll find it's the black stuff. Ryan, not the green stuff as you're cutting the inside of that corner. Don't think we haven't spotted it on the broadcast. But he's now heading forward to start another lap with 1.5 minutes to go. So he will only get one more flying lap in. And when you're in that situation, when you know it's do or die for the final lap and you've got a couple of cars in front of you, obviously you've been in qualifying like this before for the virtual minis. What kind of a mindset, what goes through your mind? What exactly how much are you psyching yourself up to put this final lap in, and just what exactly are you just hoping that it's a clear lap? Are you hoping that traffic, sees blue flags and they get out of the way? What exactly does go through your mind on a lap like this?
I always just find as Campfield moves up into 4th position, I'm sure he'll go a little bit faster as he's on his final lap of the session. But yeah, no, it's you've got to find somewhere where you're comfortable in qualifying, and the way I always found it was just to turn off all of the leaderboards. Just put in a decent amount of fuel, and someone on TeamSpeak would tell me how long was left of the session if I want to know. But other than that, it was just turn off the leaderboard and just drive. That is the easiest way to do it. You don't let anything get to you. It's just about doing the laps. When you're thinking, oh, I'm 1/10 up on this guy. Oh, I'm so close to this guy's time. You let it get to yourself, and it's very easy to mess up what is a good lap. And that's just the way it is. So sometimes people actually like that, to see where their competition is, to see how many tenths they have to improve and stuff like that. It's just finding your own balance. And there's so many drivers on this field that I don't think have, because you see some people out of place in qualifying when, you think in race pace they're generally higher up. It's just about finding your right comfort zone.
As we see, Ryan Callan has now not improved. He seemed to find more pace in Sector 2, but the flag has dropped, which means that we have ended the qualifying session. And it does mean that it is going to be, once again, a lockout of the first 5 positions from Walk Racing. It will be Patrick on pole, with Ryan Callan starting alongside in a season-best 2nd place on the grid. Gus Verver up in 3rd place. Great effort from the Dutchman there to get himself up onto Road 2, alongside championship leader Adrian Campfield, with Peter Hennenberg up there also in the top 5, rounding out the top 5 in the qualifying session. Ben Haxon just behind on track and also in position on the grid, 6th for him. Jesper Tolborg only managing 7th for THR, best of the rest for those guys. Then Tom Ely only 8th, but again, I'm sure he'll pick up some pace going through the race weekend in car 69. With Ryan Walker again impressing the young Scotsman up there in 9th, and Diogo Silva, the GT Competizione, up there rounding out the top 10. Of course, we'll go towards the warm-up in just a few moments' time. Of course, we can go to the rest of the grid very quickly. Matty Orban 11th, Andrew Waring 12th. Then we've got Klaus Nearing in 13th place, Javier Carvalho up there in 14th place for Mad Cape as he pulls into the pits. John Monroe only 15th for THR Orange, not exactly finding too much pace and not really finding the minis to his liking. Andy van der Velde in 16th spot, with Luis Fernandez also ending his lap to see if he can improve at all. Personal best, he does. Goes to 10th, so edges out his teammate Diogo Silva. So there is still a GT Competizione in the top 10, but it's not Diogo Silva. He's just been pushed out by his teammate Luis Fernandez as we head towards the warm-up session. With Oscar 18th, Jimmy Hughes 19th, and Paul Crawford rounding out the top 20. So I guess just before we quickly go to a quick ad break to our friends at Inside Sim Racing, Lewis, thoughts on qualifying? Of course, top 5 domination by Walk Racing once again, but any surprises from that session that really stood out in your eyes in that one?
Yeah, Campfield's the main one, because I know it's 4th, and 4th isn't that bad. But you look at his times in the practice session, he was always around where Patrick was. I think he might have I don't know whether he let it get to him or something, because that's not really what we've seen from him, really. But something clearly went wrong, because I think he only did a 19.0, which is way off where he should be, to be honest. But he's qualified 4th. I think Ben Haxon in 6th position. That's a really, really good result. I know Tom Ely in 8th has been struggling with this track, but he's done a good job to put it up in 8th position. It's all about what happens in the race now, and just to see where the points are going to go, because obviously there's no points for qualifying. It's all in the race.
certainly is. And we will go towards the build-up for the race with about 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes in what have to go. We're going to take a very quick commercial break to say thank you to our good friends over at Inside Sim Racing. So stay with us. We'll bring you all the action from race 1 here at Oran Park back in 2 minutes.
InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Welcome back to the live coverage of round 3 of the 2014 Touring Pro Series Virtual Mini Challenge here at Oran Park in Australia. Just a quick reminder, of course, if you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing here at Touring Pro Series, it is, of course, you can head to our website, TouringProSeries.com, for all the info. Also, you can head to keep up to date with us on all of our social media feeds, facebook.com/TouringProSeries, twitter.com/Touring_Pro. And of course, if you miss anything in the broadcast, you can head to youtube.com/TouringProSeries for all of the action going back for every single broadcast that we do, of course, uploaded in full for your pleasure at any single point that you want to try and take it up. So be sure to go ahead, hit the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds. Is free, and you'll keep up to date with everything we're doing on this as well. And also, thank you to all of our good partners here, of course. Inside SimRacing.tv, Cancer Research UK, Live Racers, SimSync Pro, MultiBC, and of course, Rights and Studios are putting together this fantastic sim in GameStop Kart 2013. So, cars are now currently back out with about 1 minute and 17 to go left in the warm-up session before we head to the first race. And so, looking at the grid layout that we have then for race 1, Lewis, what are you expecting in terms of course, what racing again, class the field? But is there anyone that you're looking down through the field so far and thinking that they're going to make a charge through the field, or they might struggle from where they are?
You see now, I know, Ben's obviously qualified in a very good position as Ben Hackson in P6. I'm not really sure how he's going to race around that, because, sometimes when you get in that high position, you let it get to you, especially when, you're not usually there. It's kind of new for you to be up in those positions in these cars, so you might let that get to him. I think Campfield will move forward, whether it's towards P1 and will actually get P1, I don't know. I think Patrick's probably going to get the race win. Based on what we've seen, but it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with some of the people that have qualified, out of position in regards to previous events in this championship.
And also, one thing to mention as well, quite a small field for tonight, only 22 cars turning up. Do you reckon that's going to have a difference in terms of lappery when obviously the leaders come up to get through slower traffic? Do you think that the decreased numbers in the field is going to be an advantage to them because effectively there's not so many cars on track, therefore they're going to have less trouble getting around back markers?
That might happen because you'll have your back markers probably spread out a bit more, but I don't know. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it'll make too much of a difference because it's it's not like we've had a 40 car grid that's now been changed into a 22 car grid. It's just a few cars different, so. It's not the smallest grid that I've raced on in TPS. I think that was a 19 or 18 car grid in VSS last season, but it shouldn't make too much of a difference for these league guys.
Well, we are now heading out towards the grid for the first race of the evening. Of course, it's going to be 23 laps of the magnificent Oran Park circuit, and of course we'll be with you giving you all the details every single step of the way for this race, so we'll keep you up to date with everything that's going on leading you through the race. We're going to quickly switch to Paul Patrick, who's on the front row of the grid, and the car's going to be ready to head off for their formation lap to get ready. And as we do that, we're going to run down the grid for you once again, and as we get ready to head them off. So, green flag lap is underway, and here is how they line up for the first race of round 3 of the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge here at Oran Park in Australia. So on the pole, once again, it is Paul Patrick for Walk Racing, and he leads a 5-car domination of the first couple of rows for his team. Second, up there back at the front once again, Ryan Callan in car 68. He will share the front row. Can he get the jump from the inside of the front row to put the outside of the front row to get himself He will be on the cleaner side of the track. Then again, this is sim racing, and the cleaner side of the track isn't really that simulated too much in sim racing. He will start on the front row. Second row is Gus Verver and Adrian Campbell, championship leader. What can he do? What can he get? Will he have better race pace? Peter Hennenberg in 5th. Ben Haxon, best of the rest of the walk race of the cars that aren't walk racing, in 6th. Jesper Tolborg 7th. Tom Ely 8th. Ryan Walker in 9th to round out obviously row 5 with Luis Fernandez, and Luis can do the rest of the field. As we say, it's Diogo Silva in 11th spot for GT Competizione, and in 12th place on row 6, Matej Orban.
Yeah, the second of the puppy racing cars, Andrew Waring, down in 13th position, followed by Klaus Noring. I think it's the first of the walk racings outside of that top 5, and then it's Xavier Di Carvalho in 15th position. John Monroe for THR Orange down in 16th position. He's out of place, probably going to move his way up throughout the race. He'll be one to look out for, I feel, down in the 16th position, followed by Andy van die Velde and Jonathan Ockerklinth, who can be good in the races, so maybe he's one to keep an eye out. He's generally pretty consistent. Jimmy Hughes in 19th, Paul Crawford in 20th, Razvan in 21st, and the final position on the grid is taken by Matt Emmons.
So, cars will head onto the grid for their first day, quickly get themselves into position. I'll tell you what, in sim racing, they grid themselves up a lot quicker than they do in real racing, that's for sure, because I think, for one, that looking through some of the field, I think it's safe to say that, for the moment at least, Mr. Verver has overshot his grid slot, as has Ben Haxon, but the final few cars are already starting themselves into position. And so then, we wait for the lights. It's going to be Patrick and Camphor. I think Callan's slightly out of position.
There's lots
He is moving a lot, but here come our lights for the first race of round 3. They're all moving about very much, but the revs are going to rise for race 1 of round 3 of the Virtual Mini Challenge. Lights are away, and off we go. And that was pretty cheeky from Callan, because he did have his nose in front off the grid, and he has got his nose in front down towards turn 1. So it will actually be, I think, unless Patrick can get himself alongside down towards the breaker zone for Coca-Cola corner. No, it's not. It's going to be Callan who leads. So Callan, with a bit of crafty tactics there off the line, has got himself in front, but Patrick forced his way up the inside, and he will get a lead through exit in turn 1, as both Campbell and Gus Verber swap places for 3rd and 4th. Hennenberg holding station in 5th, as now again it's now Callan and Campbell going side to side into turn number 3. With walk racing still 1st to 5th, as now it's Hennenberg and Verver going side by side. These walk racing cars are battling amongst each other. No team orders, as there goes Tolborg around the outside of Ben Haxon into 6th position. So the sole THR red machine, only 2 THR cars this weekend, 1 in Tolborg in the red car, and in the orange machine car for THR it is going to be, of course, John Monroe, but John's back in 16th. Tommy back in 8th. With Ryan Walker up, the Matty Orban rounding out the top 10. But so far, Lewis, perfect start for walk racing, even though a bit of inter-team rivalry, 1st to 5th, and a great start for them with Patrick back out in front.
Yeah, it's all okay having a bit of inter-team rivalry as long as they're not taking each other off. I'm not really sure why Goose Verver has his lights on, but I'm sure that's not too much of an irritation. And with Callan on that start, you're allowed to put yourself as far forward in the box as their game will allow, and he did that, and it worked out well for him down into turn 1, obviously losing that to Paul Patrick later on the lead, and Paul Patrick leads your first lap at Oran Park in the VMC.
Back under brakes again, that very tricky braking zone, the first lap under racing speeds. Campbell a little bit sideways, as Tolborg again looking to try and make a move now to try and start to split up the walk racing party. His first target will be Gus Verber for 5th, as he starts to make advances on the 86 cars. They head the way through, and is that Callan running wide? It was at Shell Corner. That now gives Campfield the run up the inside into the right-hander as they come up towards the bridge for the second time, and Campfield into 2nd place now, which means there is more inter-team switches for walk racing, but so far Patrick is the one that's managed to run away with it so far. He leads now by, at the stripe it was a second, it looks as though a bit more than that as they head through the Foster's kink and into the right-hander of Momo corner, left-hander at Momo corner, sorry, up towards the very tricky dogleg, and back then towards Recaro corner to end lap 2. So far it seems as though that Patrick is making the most of that clear track so far, but it looks that obviously at the moment that Tolborg is at least keeping Gus Verber honest in 5th position, Lewis, and certainly looking to try and challenge and split up this split up the snake of walk racing cars, and Tolborg is bringing the likes of Haxonini with him, so it's not going to be just one car in this cavalry, it's going to be 3 of them changing after walk racing.
Yeah, it seems like Goose Verver might be dropping off at the back of P4, which is Peter Hennenberg. So there might be a bit of changing. I see one of the... Is that Puppy? No, it was Matej Orban having a little look on Ryan Walker in the background. However, he had a little fight with Andrew Waring down in P10. As I see, Jesper Tolborg, yes, P5. Jesper Tolborg gets round Goose Verver and moves himself into the walk racing field, and might move himself towards podium position if he catches up to the back of Peter Henneberg.
I think it was just see in the background there, just you saw to your left, there was a car going very slowly at the back of the field. I couldn't quite see who it was. There's somebody struggling around at the back of the field after possibly making some contact near the rear of the pack.
Possibly Jonathan Ockerclinth. He's got some really big damage on the right-hand side of that car, door completely caved in, and he's running down in P22. However, keep him going.
Yeah, that did look to me as if it was possibly a Optimus Sim Racing coloured car. So if that's the case, then Ockerclinth unfortunately not having too many fortunes. As Verver trying to make a huge lunge up the inside through Recaro corner back onto the pit straight on Jesper Tolborg as Paul Patrick with that clear air. Look at that, 1:18.796. That is literally qualifying pace he's setting at the moment. He has the gap up to 1.8 seconds. And Campfield is certainly being kept honest at the front in second place by Ryan Callan. I'm sure he'll want to give himself back, and there was almost formation sideways action there from Tolborg and Verver under braking. That's a fantastic thing about these cars, Lewis. They've got so much rear bias, of course, so when you hit them under brakes, because they've got such a light rear end, it's pretty tricky for them to try and get past. As we see Verver now challenging Henneberg now. I didn't see that, in fact, actually.
Yeah,
Tolborg got around Henneberg, so
I didn't see where Tolborg did that, no. As there's a bit of contact between Henneberg and Verver, nevertheless keeping in formation in 5 and 6, and yeah, these cars are really they can get very slidey for front wheel drive cars, when you're, especially through, as I've said about this turn 1 turn 2 section with the trail braking, and easy to get out of it, and it's very easy to go slightly sideways, and I reckon someone in this field is going to make the mistake and go a little bit too far and will go off into the gravel if they're not careful enough. However, it's a 1.7 second lead for Paul Patrick at the moment in front of Adrian Campfield, who is starting to gap Ryan Callan a little bit.
Yep, 0.8 per second gap is what it is at last time round as they start to come across the line. We'll see exactly what the gap is right now as they come through. So lap times this time round, it's 118.818. It's all the 1s and 8s there for Paul Patrick on his lap time. And the gap is up to 1.8 seconds, and Campfield is now really starting to gap Callan to a second now, who Callan himself is out to a 1.4 second advantage over Jesper Tolborg. Until this pack goes on, as we see there, Verver looking to the outside of Henneberg, couldn't get the job done on that occasion, and now of course he might look to try and battle again. So it looks as though it seems that walk racing aren't afraid to battle each other, and Mr. C, the man that's at the front of it, head of it all, of course Cameron Andrea Bogdan, says, okay boys, you can race, but just don't take each other off. Although I think Gus Verver might not have heeded that, because look at the front of his car, that Mini is caved in at the front with the radiator, so possibly that could be a problem later on in the race. As behind, I think it's all starting to stack up a bit more, because you've now got a huge scrap going on between Puppy Racing and Optimum Sim Racing themselves. It's currently being headed, I guess, by Ben Haxer, but he's currently focused on more things, battling with Tolborg and the contingent from Walk Racing. Ely, in fact, is heading the charge of that 4-car scrap, with Walker, Orban and Waring also in amongst it, and they make up the bottom end and just outside the top 10. And just behind, we've got now, that's Klaus Niering battling in a GT Competizione sandwich, with Luis Fernandez in front, and not very much longer. There's contact between the two of them. Bit of a hip and shoulder there from Nearing. I'm not sure Fernandez would appreciate that one. As they come back onto the pit straight, he's going to try and keep side by side. He's going to have to be careful, because here comes Silva, a fantastic slingshot off the final corner. He's going to get the pair of them down towards turn 1, under brakes. Careful boys, under brakes as you turn in. Is it going to be sideways? Yes it is, because Fernandez almost loses it completely. How close was John Monroe? That was so close indeed, Lewis. How on earth did Monroe not get caught up in that accident?
Oh, my big thing with that is how Luis Fernandez actually caught that car, because when they flick back on you, it's so aggressive, and you can really lose the car very, very easily. I saw that the gap between Patrick and Campfield got up to 1.9 seconds. It's now back down to 1.7. I've been told by Mr. C himself that the walk racing cars have all been told not to fight with each other, as Ben Hackerson, I don't know where that happened, but he got past Peter Henneberg and up into the 6th position, and he's going to fight Goose Verver. Oh no, he's not going to have a look. He looked like he was going to, but yeah, these walk racing guys have been told not to fight.
Well, that was an intriguing thing. They just caught Andy van der Velde off in the gravel, as we said. There is Goose Verver getting sideways also. I think it's been quite a recurring theme here at Oran Park. Mini's going sideways. This again, Goose Verver. Now, That doesn't look normal. That looks to be possibly. Is there possibly a problem with Gus Verver's car? Because that car's going sideways a lot more than it should be through some of those corners, and it's going to mean that Ben Hackerson is going to be all over the rear end as he is right now to try and grab a top 5 spot from Gus Verver as they head back towards Recaro corner. Under brakes is Hackerson can't get himself up the inside this time, but he may try and force the issue as they come back out of Recaro corner onto the pit straight, and this time means that it could bring Peter Henenberg, who's dropped back to 7th, and into the clutches of Tom Ely in 8th. Tom not showing the same pace he had back in Zolder, certainly improved pace. As I spoke to him recently after the race, he was very happy to be back near the front and getting more practice in and having more speed within him. It's good to see him back up at the front. He's up there hounding Peter Henenberg, but it seems as though that from the way that Gus Verver's car was oversteering on those corners on that last lap, Lewis, I'm betting possibly he might be carrying some damage as a legacy of some of the incidents he's been involved in.
Yeah, as slight as it might be, the suspension damage on these cars, whether it's front or rear, can really affect just the balance of the car, because these cars are balanced just, really. It's very easy to unsettle it. And so any form of damage on the car can quite easily slow you down. You just have to be a bit more cautious with it, and it won't slow you down that much. As long as you're just a bit slower into the turns, you won't actually lose that much time. Because when you're still trying to take it at the speed you were before, that you bleed time.
But back towards out of the dog leg once again for the 7th time of 8. And this means that it's Hackerson now on the defensive rather than the attack. Henenberg looking to try and grab 6th position. The rest of the top 10 snake their way out of the final corner, back onto the pit straight, across the line they come. And 8th is Tom Ely, 9th Ryan Walker, 10th is now Andrew Waring, who has got around Matty Orban. So off camera we did see a change for 10th position, as again the background Henenberg sideways through turn 1. That's a fantastic sight seeing these minis on almost full opposite lock, trying to wrestle for control. Wouldn't believe these things are front wheel drive, would you? Especially with the brake bias mostly towards the rear and the very light rear ends.
Sorry, I'm just in the lead gap. Has dropped significantly. It's now 0.3 of a second. I don't know what's happened to Paul Patrick, or I don't think that's just Campfield putting in some mega laps. That's a mistake on Patrick's part, I feel.
I was possibly going to try and look at a replay, but I think obviously if we do that, there could be a change for position here. So Campfield either it must be a combination of the two, because Campfield was starting to reel in Patrick just a little bit, but certainly the gap is substantially closer. It's visibly closer, you can see obviously, and Campfield is now starting to give Patrick the big hurry up on exit.
Oh, big slide from Patrick! Big slide from Patrick through turn 1.
Must be looking at apology. We're looking at a replay there. Apology. I thought we were looking at back at footage for live action, back towards the front then. So now Patrick having to just fend off the attentions of his teammate. They now wind their way out of Shell corner and back towards the champion curve, and through and over the curves they go. And this is what we saw back at Zolder and once again back at Curitiba. These two running nose to tail, and almost kind of like it's a euphemism we've used a lot this season for sim racing, but it's almost like a Hamilton-Rosberg style fight between the two teammates. Clean, but certainly quite action-packed at the same time. And these two certainly going at it. And I wonder what Campbell's got under his sleeve as they head back towards the dog leg and the end of lap 9 to try and pull this move off as they head back towards the final corner again. And you can see, I think Campbell still going to get a tiny bit impatient trying to get the cut back on the exit, but Patrick just parks it right on the apex of the final corner to deny any advance from his teammate. And it could possibly, as they've dropped Callan already. The gap's now 2.7 seconds between Patrick in first and Callan in second. It's actually 2.8 now. And Callan himself is now fending off a second gap from Talborg, who is starting to close in. So Talborg is the man on the move right now, closing in on the potential podium place.
Patrick, big slide. Yeah, he's in the gravel.
So, apologies, we slightly missed that one. We're going to have a quick look at a replay that's happened with that one.
Oh, and it's wow, bad rejoin.
Oh dear.
Patrick into the front of Jesper Talborg.
So there's what happened there initially, going across the curbs, trying to defend from his position. And let's see, coming back onto the track, what happens here? Oh, Paul. Sorry to say it, but use your mirrors, buddy.
Yeah.
Because that was not a smart rejoin, and he's going to rejoin, tries to take the billboard sign with him as well. And that will see him back down in 15th. He's got again, in fact. He's spun up again, but I think that's turn 3. And, well, that to me signifies that could be... He's parking that one for sure, I think, unless he's going to rejoin. I'm not sure what he's doing. In fact, that might be the end of the race for him. I think he's had enough. And
Not really sure.
yeah, but that certainly seems to me as if it's race over, he will not be winning the race today. And that is unfortunate. He had such a great run, but I think possibly just the pressure he was feeling from Campfield might have just got to him, Lewis. I think in the end, that pressure sometimes it has to crack, and unfortunately, he did on that occasion.
Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate, especially for Jesper Tolborg, because his car's going to be pretty damaged at the moment. I think he was going to try and get a run heading up towards Ryan Callan and grab what was, P3. Obviously now P2 is back on. He's on the podium. Is Jesper Tolborg, which is pretty impressive from P7. But that was not really sure what was happening. I said someone was going to lose it through there, and I didn't actually think it was going to be one of the Walk Racing guys, because those guys just look untouchable. But Paul Patrick was the one to make that mistake, which is going to really aid Adrian Campfield in this championship.
And of course, vice versa for Patrick's points total, because of course it means he will score, as far as I'm aware, 0 points. So it's certainly not going to be. It certainly is going to be an advantage Campfield going forward.
I don't know what Patrick's doing still. He's still kind of just sitting there, really.
Now that's intriguing. Now you don't suppose he's waiting for somebody, do you? As in waiting around,
no, unlikely. He's, I would base that on the fact of no one's really caused him to go off. That was his mistake, and I don't really know what he's doing, if I'm honest. It's a bit silly. Should just escape back to the garage.
Well, I'm sure you might be able to get a chat with him, of course, later on to see exactly what was going on with that one. Maybe possibly if he feels there was
down in P8, Andrew Waring. They're all going side by side behind.
Oh yes.
In fact, it is Optimum and GT Competizione of Ryan Walker, Diogo Silva, Matej Orban, and John Monroe for THR.
In turn one, they're all going to get a little bit sideways. Sure, this is going to end in tears for somebody under brakes, and somehow they've all managed to anchor it up and get through turn one. It's a minor miracle. They all managed it with getting through there unscathed. Yeah,
you kind of look at them all going side by side towards turn one, and you just kind of closing your eyes and cringing, going, "This is going to end really badly." It's remarkable that they all got through all together without really that much damage. There's a bit of contact between a few of them as they're heading round turn 2, but it was all clean other than that.
And that's what you expect. I think a little bit of bump and run is something you expect in tin tops like the Virtual Minis. Something that effectively it's what characterises it. Of course, touring cars has always had that kind of. It's supposed to be a non-contact sport, but nobody ever listens to it. It always happens anyway. So, but these guys, of course, putting on a great show at the moment. This, of course, is for the bottom end of the top 10 and beyond that, down to 12th. So a nice fight building up here. Of course, Waring at the front of it in the pink and white puppy racing car. Then we've got Ryan Walker and Matej Orban keeping each other honest. In 9th and 10th. Then, of course, we've then got Diogo Silva and John Monroe also fighting amongst themselves. And I have a feeling, back onto the pit straight, we're going to go side by side again. So back down the pit straight. Well, maybe not this time, but maybe in the next couple of laps, possibly. And we're only on lap 30 or 23. So even though it's quite short laps of 1 minute 20, we're only just over at halfway distance. It feels like we've been going for quite a while. Yeah,
there's been quite a lot of action between a lot of them, and it's there's probably plenty more to come as Matej Orban almost touches the rear left of Ryan Walker's car through turn 2. And you were saying that the characterisation of touring cars being with a bit of bumping, and I've always been on the side of a bit of bumping's okay. It's not great. It doesn't look that good, and when you're the driver that's being bumped around, it's really not cool. But it's to be expected. They give you a bump, you give them a bump. It's as long as no one's going off the track and nothing's really really bad. No one's disadvantaged that much, then there's not really much you can do about it. Everyone's going to do it.
Race got going on for P5 at the moment, of course, you can see on your screens. Ben Haxon is fending off a rather feisty-looking Tom Ely puppy racing car, and he's now looking to try and give himself another decent point total and more points to go towards his total. Of course, Klaus Hellenberg is still staying within touching distance in 7th place, and then we've got this scrap going on. 8th place, this ongoing fight. It seems to me that both Waring and Walker are dropping each other, and both in turn are dropping this 3-car fight now, as Orban now fends off from Diogo Silva, who has to tow down the pit straight. Is he going to get himself up into a place high in the top 10? Of course, into the top 10 at least. Or is John Monroe going to do that? Well, I think Orban may have outbraked himself ever so slightly. Doesn't give Silva the chance he's looking for to get through. And now he'll go to the outside this time, down towards turn 3. Will he get the job done this time? Doesn't appear to. but I'm sure he'll come back and fight another day. Looking quickly back down through the rest of the field to see what's going on. Luis Fernandez 13th, ahead of Klaus Nearing in 14th spot. Then we've got Paul Crawford in 15th place, the independent, and Javier de Carvalho back in 16th, so dropped way back after his brilliant qualifying job. 17th is Andy van der Velde, who we saw earlier on rolling backwards across the gravel. 18th spot is, of course, Jimmy Hughes with Jonathan Osserklint in 19th place. Of course, we have now, now lost Paul Patrick and Matt Emmons also due to an accident, and Archuk Razvan in 22nd after a problem with him with his suspension. Back towards the front then, and it is, of course, leading is Adrian Campfield by 2.6 seconds as he is starting to go through lap traffic. And so far it seems clear track. This is the kind of situation you want. And again, it's because we've got quite such a thin field, as we said before, it's not affecting Campfield too much. He's not coming up across too much traffic because, to be all fairness, with 22 cars on the track, there isn't any.
Yeah, it's when you're leading, it's when you come up to a group of cars. That's when you're kind of like, oh, here we go. You know, when it's one, it's okay. It's always like, hello, I'm here. You know, just let me past. But when it's a group of them and they're all fighting for position, it's really annoying because you're just sitting there going, okay, now you need to get out of my way now. And there's just a group of them, and they're all fighting in front of you, and they're not really getting out of the way too much. Luckily on a track like this, as much as it's fairly narrow, you know, there's no reason why drivers can't get out of the way fairly easily. You know, this isn't a street circuit or anything like that. It should be fairly easy for most drivers to get out of the way, but yeah, with their thin field, it shouldn't be like clumps of drivers.
Now look at this. Now what's happened here, because Gus Verver is now all over the back of Jesper Tolborg for the final podium place. And Gus certainly wants to make it a walk racing 1-2-3 to round up his first race. A small glance at the wall there from Tolborg, but that's to be expected, I think, with the wall being so close and being that extra bit of tarmac that you can use on the exit. And they both use it to full effect as Verver now looking to possibly try and make a move on the winningest driver in TPS history. Can he make a gutsy move down towards turn 1? Can't get it done there, but again on the brakes for the second part of that corner. And Tolborg just about holding on for the moment, but I'm sure that Gus Verver will be back. And it is impressive to see that Gus Verver, this is his third race weekend, his fifth race in total at TPS, and actually taking the fight to Jesper. That's impressive stuff.
Oh, I don't know who's flown backwards through the field. I think it might be Matt Eilban who's dropped out of the top 10 down to 12th position. There was definitely some smoke around him down at turn 1. But yeah, about Jesper, I think it's just the damage on that car that's really costing him some time at the moment.
But then also, you could say the same similarly about, of course, Gus Verver. Of course, he's still kind of damaged the front of that car, so possibly it's a tale of two stories. Of course, if it's damaged to Tolborg's car, certainly it's having equal effect on Gus, because he's certainly not exactly charged up to the back of him, but he's at this point now he seems to be in kind of a plateau where, because he's stuck in the dirty air, it doesn't seem to be kind of doing any favours. It's a huge lunge.
Wow, that was a bit bad on Gus Verver's side. Luckily, Jesper Tolborg not really disadvantaged by that, but yeah, that dirty air, it doesn't really affect you too much. It makes you go a little bit faster, but it not like enough. These cars are actually really quite difficult to overtake, in my opinion, because the speed differential isn't great when you're behind someone. So, you know, you've really got to plot your moves well. You know, trick them into going, oh, I'm going to defend here, and then they'll, oh, I'm going to attack here, and then they'll start defending, and then something happened. Tom Ely's dropped down into P9. Yep, he's gone off at turn 1, P10 at the moment.
There he is. Let's look at a replay quickly. We'll see exactly what's happened. And that's he lost it.
Another
There again. Whoa, and that was close. I think also that's the reason why that I saw Ben Haxon going a little wide on the exit of turn 1, and that now it seems to put him all the way down to 13th. So unfortunately, poor old Tom hasn't done himself really too many favours with that one. He's dropped back down, but it's now left us with this fantastic scrap going on now for P6 between Henenberg, Waring and Walker. It seems like Walker and Waring are imminently going to switch places unless Waring can put up a sterling defensive effort at this point. Then again, he is a bit of a catch-22. Does he have to try and keep one eye on Walker behind? He also has to try and put his foot down and try and overtake Henenberg for P6. So, going to be quite intriguing to see how he deals with this one. But out the final corner they come. Of course, all three of them trying to close in on Ben Haxon. He's having a great run so far in the top 5. And I think possibly in front, I think Verver once again is putting Tolborg under pressure down towards turn 1. Is he going to force his way back up the inside? He's known for making one or two quick late braking moves. on this occasion, again, not so far alongside. As they come back towards turn 3 on lap 18 of 23. And Tolborg has the advantage, but so far Verver certainly giving something to think about, putting himself into his mirrors. So certainly if I was Jesper Tolborg, Lewis, I certainly wouldn't be relaxing. Not that I think in a race situation Tolborg does ever relax, but well, he might do in some cases. But when he's put under pressure here, it's the reason why we call him the Iceman, because of course he is, not only does he say not too much like Kimi, but he is just so cool under pressure, and he very, very rarely makes a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Jesper driving for me in another league, and he doesn't really let anything get to him. It's only really the mistakes of others that really cost him position. I've only ever seen him make a mistake once, and you know, I've known JT for a short while now, and to say that I've seen him do a few races and he's only made a mistake once is a pretty impressive thing. But he just doesn't let anything get to him. You know, it's just this is my track. I'll drive it the way I want. He doesn't really attack aggressively. He doesn't really defend aggressively. He just slowly works his way through.
So, working lap 19 of 23, I should say. In this first race of the third round, and Verver is trying all the tactics in the book. He's got the headlights on, trying to strap Tauber, but I'm pretty sure Tauber's looking at him and thinking, nah, doesn't really do too much. To be fair, in my eyes, it seems to be a case of I've seen it all before.
Ely into the pits. Sorry, down in P17.
You're right, Ely. So obviously after that excursion into the gravel, it seems to have done more damage than we thought it did, because he's now dropped back into the pits, or maybe he's had a further excursion off into the tyre barriers. That's a real shame. Hopefully he can bounce back for race 2. As you can see, the tighter line that August Verver takes as he heads now down towards Momo Corner, the left-hander. Look at that, he really is feeling that he wants to get on with this right now as he heads back towards the dog leg. And again, the run he gets off that final corner will determine just how much straight line speed he gets down on that run towards turn 1. And again, just feels there's a bit more confidence in that walk racing car than Tolborg has at the moment, and it shows through the corners. He heads back onto the pit straight, and it might be the case that he's almost literally pushing Tolborg down the pit straight, and here he comes this time. So, he's been in this position so many times, but what is he going to do this time in the slipstream? Get it done this time once again. Tolborg seems to have enough of a straight line advantage of making that number 17 car as wide as possible to hold on to this third place on the podium. And he knows he's not as fast as both, at the moment, Cantford or Callan, but he's doing just about enough to make sure that he's holding off for that third place bit. Again, time's running out for Verver. He's so close. You can see that third place there waiting for him, but just needs to find that opportune effort and to do that rare thing, which is to put Tauber into a mistake, and then bam, straight down the inside, it'll be third place for him.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been talking to someone at the moment about Guus Verver, and it is. Oh, Guus Verver's made the mistake down. It's okay. It's okay. He's gathered it up. Just power out of it. He's just dropped off of the back of JT for a little bit, but he's running with his lights on. Now, I don't know if he'd actually know, because in this it's quite a subtle difference in daytime. Obviously, you know, as you'd expect, like it is in the real world. It's not like an R factor where it's really obvious when you have your lights on, just with the way the track's lighting. And it's a little bit harder to tell. But I'm sure it should be enough, and he should really have turned those lights on, so he might actually get a penalty for that.
We'll have to wait and see. And of course, whilst we're watching there from the rear view of Ben Haxon, as he went a little too deep, he was forced a little too deep into the final corner by Peter Henneberg, so that's why he just sat back a little bit and just went ahead and said, okay, not a problem, I'll just sit back, take the normal line, try and get the cut back. And it seems to work to an extent, as he's forcing Haxon wide. He's outbraking himself into turn 2, and that was kind of almost inevitable. And cut back across. I'm not sure what on earth is Andrew Waring doing. That's a very bold pass to put himself on the inside for the next corner into the right-hander, and it has worked, because amazingly he's up in front and he's got himself 6th position. And now it's Haxon coming under attack from his teammate Ryan Walker, now for 7th place. So from what was 5th position, in the space of a few corners, he goes from 5th to 7th and possibly almost losing 8th. So this could be almost down to 8th. So Haxon in these final couple of corners, it's certainly a few corners, Lewis, you want to forget.
Yeah, you know, when you're really running in such a high position that you've not really been running. I don't think he's ever finished 5th. I know last year Ben's best result was in Velo Park, but I can't remember what happened there result-wise. So, you know, you run in a position that you're not generally running in, and you've lost quite a lot of ground on that position. It's going to be slightly irritating, but still, 7th, and especially when there's 2 races this evening, 2 qualifying sessions as well. You've got one coming up shortly, so there's plenty of time to gain it all back.
Back down the pit straight on the penultimate lap, and it's possibly a chance for Haxton to try and close back in once again. But intriguingly enough, Henenberg's pace is substantial enough to start to gap these 3 already, as Waring just clips the curb a little bit unsettled, as is Haxton, but keeps that number 2 car on the straight and narrow. And back now down towards turn 3 once again. So is Haxton going to have any kind of response? He breaks that a little bit later into the corner, just closes up onto the rear of car 66. Of course, it's the white and pink car with the multitude of paw prints on the side and across the car. To, of course, differentiate the fact that it is puppy racing. And again, Haxton trying to find a way up the inside, but again, not that far enough alongside, trying to get the undercut on the exit of the corner. And back towards the Foster's corner. And back towards Momo at this time. And of course, at the front, we have to keep our eyes on the screen, so on top of the screen, to see exactly when that counter flicks over to lap 23, as it has just now. So, of course, as we watch this battle, Adrian Campfield, race leader and championship leader, is on the final lap of his first race. And to be fair, Lewis, we've hardly talked about the top 2, because North West have been in a class of their own, and Cal has managed to bring the gap down to 3.6 seconds, or at least stabilises it at about 3.6 seconds. And so far, it seems to be the case that they've been the class of the field, and the rest of the pack just haven't kept up, and they've done their own thing. And once again, it's going to be a walk racing 1-2. Yeah,
I said Campfield was probably going to move his way up from 4th position where he qualified. I think the only reason why we've not really been focusing on what Campfield's been doing because of what happened to Paul Patrick earlier on. I think if Paul Patrick hadn't have dropped off like that, we would have been focusing on Campfield a bit more. But he's done a great job at the front of the field, and Ryan Callan's done a very good job to hold that 2nd position, and obviously Jesper for 3rd at this present moment in time. Has done a great job to put it up into P3 from qualifying 7th.
Certainly contender possibly for driver of the race, up through quite a substantial amount of spots to get himself up there as well. Also John Monroe for 10th, that'll be pleasing for THR Orange. But into the final corner, it's going to be his 4th race victory of the season. And what a way to start the championship for him. Of course, he will extend his championship lead after Paul Patrick couldn't keep it on the track for unfortunate reasons, as Campfield weaves across the line as he should do and takes the victory in race 1 here at Oran Park. 2nd place goes to Ryan. He should be overjoyed with that one. A return to the podium for Callan, and 3rd place again, a great drive. Jesper Tolborg from 7th on the grid to 3rd, holding off the affections of Gus Verver for 4th place. And to finish off rounding out the top 5, a flash of the headlights for 5th position of Peter Henenberg as Andrew Waring 6th, and Haxton just kept out teammate Ryan Walker for 8th. Diogo Silva 9th, and look at that, another finish. John Monroe holding off Matty Orban for 10th. So close finishes all around. 12th will go to Luis Fernandez. 13th place, a rather quite subdued effort there from Javier de Campana. Couldn't live up to his qualifying pace because he comes across the line. 14th for Klaus Neering. I believe is I was going to say the lowest placed walk racing car, but I'm pretty sure that'll be Razvan, won't it, of course, when he comes across the line. Van der Velde's 15th, Paul Crawford 16th. 17th will be Jimmy Hughes. Again, not exactly on the same pace he showed back in Zolder, but again, I'm sure he'll rebound for race 2. And then the rest of the field coming through on this one. That's going to be Tom Eady, of course. A rather disappointing run. Was up there running in the top 10, but could have improved. But of course, with the race over, I mean, again, dominant performance again from both the walk racing cars in the front. But Talbot again, I think to be fair, if we were going to name a driver of the race, I'd certainly give it to Talbot, because from 7th to 3rd, and then withstanding all that pressure from Gus Verver, I have to admit, there's a reason why they call him the Iceman.
Yeah, Jesper's done a great job to put it into P3. Obviously qualifying 7th, and with these cars not being the easiest to overtake in, it's a great job for him to have moved up into that 3rd spot, the 1st spot on the podium. Tom Ely, that's a shame about what happened to him down in 18th. But I'm sure he'll pull it back in race 2. And just as a reference to Tom Ely, it's better than what happened to him 2 years ago to this day when he had Danny Asbury sit in front of him in reverse gear.
Well, fingers crossed no one will make that same mistake again, I'm sure. Tom Ely wouldn't have appreciated that, and of course, hopefully no one will make that mistake. We're going to go for a very quick break to give a shout out once again to our good friends over at Inside Sim Racing, but we'll be back after these messages. Adrian Campfield takes the first race. Can he double up in race 2? Stay tuned and find out in just a couple of moments' time. We're qualifying for race 2. Stay tuned.
InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Welcome back to just the aftermath of Race 1 here at Oran Park Raceway for Round 3 of the 2014 Touring Pro Series Virtual Mini Challenge. It was Adrian Campbell taking the victory from Ryan Cannon in second place and Jesper Tolborg, who gets our theoretical driver of the day, driver of the race, I should say, for starting seventh, finishing third, and withstanding all the pressure from a very feisty Gus Weber behind in fourth. Quick reminder, if you want to look back at, of course, who is the best drivers in Touring Pro Series history, both past and present. We have, of course, our TPS rankings and, of course, our TPS Hall of Fame as well, by simply going to the website at the top of the screen there, TouringProSeries.com, for all the latest news, and, of course, where you can find live timing, and, of course, the links to the broadcast, of course, if you want to watch it and ever want to share it out to your friends, of course, and say, hey, look what I'm watching, some top cool sim racing on the computer. Thingy-bob. Also, we do have, of course, our presence on social media, facebook.com/TouringProSeries, with some very cool screenshots always uploaded quite regularly, thanks to Jesper Tolborg and his Photoborg, obviously, company for, or kind of branding for the high quality renders he does for any of the rounds that we do at Touring Pro Series. Also, if you want to follow us on Twitter, give us one or two tweets. It is at Touring_Pro or twitter.com/Touring_Pro. And if you miss anything of this broadcast or any that we've done before, if you simply want to take a look at what we've done before in the past and why we are here and how we got here to where we are today, then it's youtube.com/Touring Pro Series. All the broadcasts get uploaded in full straight after the race for your delectation anytime you wish to as well. And of course, I'll shout out to our good friends at InsideSimRacing.tv, Cancer Research UK, Live Racers, SimSync Pro, MultiBC, and of course, Rights to Studios. We say thank you very much to them for, of course, producing GameStop Car 2013, the best iteration of the current G motor, obviously, which runs normally R Factor, of course, but these guys from Brazil really do know their stuff when it comes to modding and producing a fantastic sim. And for that, we say thank you very much. So, let's move forward then to the second qualifying session, or at least the second practice session at the moment. And let's just talk quickly about race one, I guess, from our point of view, Lewis. Of course, what were the main points that you took away from race one? Of course, Campbell with a dominant victory after starting back on the second row of the grid. Patrick made one too many mistakes, which led to his retirement. Callum back on form. And again, some interesting battles up and down through the top 10, which certainly characterised most of the race for the majority of it.
Yeah, I think Jesper showed that obviously, he clearly has the pace of the top three, even if Paul Patrick hadn't have taken himself off, then he could have, I reckon, JT could have moved himself up towards the podium position. Whether he would have actually got a podium position, obviously with the knock when Paul Patrick came back on, really stumbled his progress towards the podium position as we just jump over into qualifying. Yeah, I think Jesper's definitely got some more pace in this car, and so I think he'll qualify in a higher position. I think also, obviously, Campfield will, after taking his fourth straight win in this season of VMC.
We'll have to wait and see exactly how that one plays out, of course, going forward, as the qualifying session is just about to start, and of course, cars are heading up towards the pit gantry. I did notice that back in qualifying for the first session, no one paid attention to the red light, and that cars were going out, even though the timer hadn't gone out to 10 minutes and the green light wasn't on. So, quite intriguing that some people do that.
Yeah, this is something that happens just kind of all the time. You leave your pit lane. I don't think I don't think you get penalties for it here. There are some leagues where you do, but here I think either way it's just flying past the red light in the pit lane, because it's where you get track position, because some people wait and other people just fly past. And obviously track position in qualifying this tight is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So you display the red light, you absolute rebel, you.
McGlade.
as are quite a few of these guys, it turns out. But yeah, qualifying now is underway. So of course we're looking at Ryan Cannon, of course, second in race one, I should say, and of course second on the grid for race one. I wonder if he's got anything left in him to possibly pop in a pole position, because he was fairly close. He's only off by about a tenth or so. So I guess with the pace that Ryan can show from time to time, of course, he's found a resurgence back in form recently. Must be due to the fact that he is with a team such as Walk Racing with such a diverse range of drivers on board, as they do have 7 of the Blighters, including Ryan himself. So I wonder possibly if the result of that, all the setup work they've done over the past 2 weeks, and for getting input from drivers like both Adrian and Paul, seems to have just found himself a bit more spark in his racing form, and he seems to have really kind of found a bit more life in his racing sim racing form itself, and I kind of found that obviously life as an admin is not as exciting as getting back behind the wheel of a sim racer.
Yeah, I've done my time of being an admin. It does take some of the fun out of what's doing. It's obviously a very different scenario when you're doing admin work and when you're also driving within the same league. But with Ryan, that P2, that's obviously going to motivate him more to get it again, because everyone likes the feeling of getting onto the podium. And it's not every day you get the opportunity to do it, and clearly this track is one that's working in favour of Ryan Callan, so he's really pushing himself to getting into another good position where he can perhaps get another podium. So see if we can qualify in the front row once again. I wonder if I think now Camfield and Patrick are both in the rhythm of it, that they might be able to get up into that lock at the front row between them. But Paul Patrick, I mean, the reason why I wouldn't be so sure is because of obviously the fact that he was knocked out in that race, so it's kind of out of the flow as he does do it. He does do a 19.0. Obviously, we're looking at about 0.3 faster than that for pole position.
So what will Ryan Callan's initial benchmark be as he heads it onto the pit straight out of the final corner? He'll be aiming for another front row start if he can get himself to pole position. Across the line he comes. He does go second again, so 19.178. And only a tenth and a half off Patrick's time again, so effectively it is a repeat once more of the front row of race 1. Patrick on pole, Callan in second, but Diogo Silva with a very impressive time, third quickest for the Portuguese driver for GT Competizione, ahead of the likes of Tolborg and Tom Ely, and also in fact Javier Carvalho with his first effort, 6th quickest. And we've said it before and I'll say it again, qualifying for the second race always does seem to bring surprises. No matter who it is, someone always either qualifies higher than we expected or lower than we expected, and it always comes at the last possible moment when we don't exactly expect it to happen. Effectively, we all think qualifying settled, and all of a sudden someone pops on a time and think, hold on a minute, where did you come from?
Yeah, it's just the case of getting into the rhythm. And there you go. There's a time that I'd more expect to be pole position as Adrian Campfield crosses the line and goes P1 and 18.765. That is exactly more like what I'd expected. Paul Patrick closes up to within 0.03 of a second, does a 7.95. And that's more what I would have expected for your front row kind of times, is these 18.7s. However, we have seen that Campfield and Patrick can pull off an 18.5. So we'll have to keep an eye on those. But yeah, these second qualifying sessions, you'd expect everyone to be more showing, where they actually are, because obviously you've done a race, you've gotten into the rhythm of it. But there's always someone who just who's figured something out and finds that extra tenth and a half, the 0.2 that just flings them straight up the field.
And of course, it all does depend, in many cases, on driving style and effectively just how you drive this mini car. As I said, it is more of a car because of its limited setup parameters that you adapt to how it drives compared to adapting how you drive compared to adapting the car to your driving style. So, as we still watch Tolborg, he's still a personal best, only just, but he's dropped quite a bit of time, almost 0.4 in that second sector as he heads down through the final corner. So Tolborg currently 6th. So if he does improve, unless he finds a magic amount of time in this final corner, he won't be jumping up higher than 6th if he comes across the line. Yep, stays 6th, and doesn't indeed improve. Only 0.04 of a second up on Tom Ely in 7th place. But one driver, Ben Haxon, again with an impressive performance, up there in 4th quickest and going quicker on a personal best so far. So Haxon definitely impressing. He's now down by almost 0.4 of a second on pole position so far. So he won't go much quicker unless he can keep. No, in fact, he will stay practically exactly the same. But Haxon, Optimum Sim Racing again, a great turn of pace, and Haxon up there, worrying the big boys up there, and to get himself in amongst the Walk Racing guys. That's certainly going to make people turn heads at him.
Yeah, obviously, driving the same team as him last season, he was one that it started off, I think, back in Curitiba last season, towards the back. I remember qualifying fairly low with him and kind of struggling. However, has picked it up and got on faster and got into grips with the car, and shows that he can challenge in a front wheel drive car for good positions. And a 19.1 is a very good time. Obviously, it's a bit close to a 19.2, but I remember Ryan Cullen before the event saying that 19.1 was a very good time if Ben could pull it off. And once again, he's showing that he can absolutely do it. And with 3 minutes and 35 seconds remaining of this session, can he stay in that position and maybe break up some of the walks?
Tolborg up to 7th after his initial lap times, 1:19.291, so he has improved slightly, but not enough really to push himself forward, as Campwood is now going faster by almost half a tenth in Sector 1, so of course trying to improve on that fastest lap time and gap himself a little bit more from teammate Paul Patrick. Diogo Silva was on a personal best. Let's see if he improves at all. No, he stays 6th, 1:19.874. Klaus Nearing is on a personal best also currently, as is Gus Verver and Ryan Walker, so we could see another change in the second sector, in the change in the top 10 at some point in this last 3 minutes of the session. Now, Ryan Callan is currently in the pit lane, as you can see. To determine who is in the pits and who isn't, any driver whose number is a bright yellow, as Nearing goes to 8th on a 1:19.2. Any who's bright yellow is on track, and of course, if they're purple or green, they're setting either obviously session best or personal best for lap times or sectors accordingly. Anyone who's has a dark yellow, that number is dark yellow, it means that they are obviously in the pits and not on circuit, completing any kind of laps whatsoever. So cars that are currently in the pits at the moment are Ben Haxon in 4th, and also Jesper Tolborg in 9th, as well as Javier Carvalho in 13th spot. But they're the ones that don't feel they have to go out just yet. And yes, Tolborg, who is actually coming back out once again, and so is Haxon, and so is Carvalho, all coming out for one final run with less than 2 minutes left in the session.
Yeah, 2 minutes is enough to get round and start your lap. I saw, there you go, there is Peter Henneberg moving up into the 4th position, taking it away from Ben Hackerson and moving himself between Ryan Callan and Ben Hackerson on a time of a 19.188. The pole position at the moment for Paul Patrick, only 300ths between for Camfield, even between 300ths between Camfield and Patrick. There's then 4/10ths to the back. However, Tom Ely, wow, that is one hell of a time for Tom Ely to put himself up in that P3. He's really showing that he wants to move himself up towards his front lot once again after struggling a little bit towards the end of race 1, as Andy van der Velde goes off in front of him in the gravel at turn 1. He's not going to be able to get around to do another lap, so his qualifying session is over for Andy van der Velde. I don't know if that's going to have put Tom Ely off for this lap, so I don't know if Ely's going to be able to improve that time. Ryan Callan is going to be one right behind Tom Ely, looking to improve that time, as I think these two are on their last lap. I don't know if they'll get around with enough time to do another one. It's going to be close for these two.
Well, Patrick, if he wants to, will get around for another lap, but he is currently up just by 17/1000ths of a second, with one of his teammates behind. That is the 35 car. That's going to be Peter Hedenberg as he heads onto the pit straight. So, is Patrick, has he found any more pace in his final corner? Across the line he comes, and the answer is no, down by almost half a second. So, he'll get one more shot at a flying lap to try and get himself onto pole position and displace his teammates. But as you said, fantastic lap from Tom Ely again, showing that pace that comes through when it counts. Third quickest, ahead of Peter Henneberg, ahead of Ryan Callan and Gus Verver. So again, breaking up that top 5 of the walk racing cars and really having an impact as Callan goes, as I say that, Callan goes to 3rd and Klaus Nearing goes to 5th. So again, another one of the walk racing cars coming in against. Look at that. So we've got in the first 7 positions.
Tom Ely and Ryan Callan have come together at turn 1. Yeah, let's be coming together between those two on their last lap. They were actually on a lap, the pair of them. So there's going to be some interesting discussion between the two of them. But yeah, 6 walk racing cars in the top 7. It's very impressive. Great job from Klaus Nearing to get himself up into P5 at the moment.
Certainly so. And so, of course, like I said, I was going to say that means that 6 of the 7 walk racing cars find themselves in the top 10, almost altogether in the top 7, with the exception, of course, of Tom Ely. Whilst Archuk Razvan is down in 20th place on a 120.194. Session is over, although Ben Haxon is currently on a personal best currently right now, and he's only down, look at that, by 14 1,000ths of a second. So in fact, that might have been just his previous lap time, so we'll have a look and see how this one plays out.
It's always the first sector is, although the turn one's quite, it's easy to get wrong, but if you get it right, you're going to be on roughly the same time as the top guys. It's this second sector where you bleed, your second or your few tenths. It's all in the second sector, I feel.
And look how close it is between obviously fourth and eighth. Look at that; they're all within literally a tenth of a second, which is absolutely incredible. And unfortunately, Haxon couldn't get his lap in time because the session that the flag had dropped, and he wasn't allowed to finish it. So that is the end of the qualifying for race 2. And we'll look at the grid quickly then. So Adrian Campbell will start on pole position for this race rather than row 2. Paul Patrick will start alongside him. So again, the front runners of the championship once again starting on the front row. Could be fireworks here for this one. An intriguing row 2 after their small little collision just now in qualifying. Ryan Callan and Tom Ely on row 2. I wonder what fireworks could happen between them if left to their own devices behind Campbell and Patrick, if things play out like that. Klaus Neering and Peter Hennenberg are on row 3, with Gus Verver and Ben Haxon on row 4, with Diogo Silva out-qualifying Jesper Tolborg in 10th on the grid. So that's quite intriguing to see how that one's played out. Matty Orban and Andrew Waring on row 6, with Paul Crawford and Javier Carvalho on row 7, and then we've got Jonathan Osserklint and Ryan Walker on row 8. Row 9 is going to be John Monroe, again struggling once more in 17th ahead of Luis Fernandez, with Andy van der Velde, Archuk Razvan, Jimmy Hughes and Matt Emmons rounding out the 22-car field. So again, I think the biggest surprise not only is a positive one is Ely. Again, showed pace back in Zolder, found it once again in 4th in qualifying. But the big surprise was Tolborg back in 10th. We saw what he could do back in race 1, from 7th back to 3rd, but 10th spot on the grid for race 2. More of a challenge for the Iceman.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to work to get that one up into a podium position, and it's going to be a struggle. For Jesper, but Jesper's always up for the challenge. Tom Ely, though, what's he going to be able to challenge for from that P4?
Waits with anticipation. Of course, car 69 on the screen right now in warm-up with just over 2.5 minutes left to go. Of course, EPS moving forward whilst we've got warm-up going on. We will quickly tell you about, we haven't actually done it just yet, we're quite surprised. Of course, the racing at Oran Park is not the only thing we'll see with the minis, aren't the only racing we'll see at Oran Park, I should say, over the next couple of weeks, because of course, for next week, next Monday, we have, of course, we have a quick look going forward. So we have, of course, on the screen, the Clio's Virtual Clio Series is back once again at Oran Park. That'll be next Monday. Going to be, of course, Monday the 19th of May. Of course, we get to see exactly how those guys will strut their stuff, of course, and it is once again, it is the THR boys once again scrapping over the top spot. We'll see exactly how that one plays out, and of course, Puppy Racing once again a prominent prominent force in that championship also. But Tom Ely will also want to try and continue his good form in front-wheel drives. And of course, again, just to remind, the Clios and the Minis do share a calendar, as Tom Ely goes quickest in the warm-up session, but only just. But they do share the calendar. They go to all the same venues as they do with each other. They will share venues, and of course they'll go to two more Brazilian events such as Cascavel and Jacarapagua. Of course, they finish off in Mid-Ohio at the end of the season, with circuits such as Nogaro being used for the first time. Road Atlanta's in there as well. Poznan's our next round for both Minis and the Clios after the races here at Oran Park. So a fantastic diversity of circuits, and the good thing is also Lewis, it simplifies things for the calendar, because of course it means that these guys, if they are competing in both championships, it means that there isn't two circuits to learn. It's one circuit, two cars, very simple, and it keeps things simple and also happy for both teams and for drivers.
Yeah, the Clios, that championship's always a nice one to look out for. I've never really gotten on with driving the cars. I've only ever driven them like once or twice when I was doing the photographs for THR for their skin launch, but I never really got on with the cars. They're quite a difficult car to get on with. So it's always good to see exactly what's going on in that, and the shared calendar works for some of these guys that are doing both of them. It doesn't work for others who kind of wanted to see something different from the two, but the two work on the same tracks, and that's fine. It's just following the same calendar. As you say, it's easy for the drivers to learn. Especially when it's two front wheel drive disciplines, to learn the track in the two cars. However, sometimes can be very disorientating whilst you're going into a turn, expecting the car to do one thing because you're thinking it's like the other car, and it not quite doing it.
But a rather obscure moment there, one of the Option Sim Racing cars really losing the back end and trying to park it in front of Tom Eady. So I'm sure that would have been something he wouldn't appreciate too much. As a couple of cars are just doing some burnouts on the pit stretches to practice their starts, and someone puts it into the pit wall as well. I'm not sure who that is. Is that one of the Option Sim Racing cars, I think? One of them at least. But I can't quite tell who that is at the moment. But the flag has dropped on warm-up, and we are now moving across to the race session for race 2 of the evening. So, just quickly before we go to the grid, then, what are you expecting from race 2? Of course, Campfield on pole. Is it going to be again business as usual for Campfield and Patrick, or is Patrick this time going to get the edge as he feels he's possibly owed a victory in some ways because he did lose that one from silly mistakes? So do you think possibly that Patrick has enough tenacity to take the fight to Campfield in a clean but rather clean but entertaining manner?
I think Campfield might be the one to take this. Obviously, he started showing really good pace later on in that event. As he starts leading you away on the formation lap, so I think it might be another Campfield. I definitely think it's going to be a walk.
Well, let's go to the grid once again to make sure we have everyone in position as they should be. So again, on the front row, Adrian Campfield on pole position with Paul Patrick alongside him. Again, starting on another front row slot. So he's possibly one of the most consistent. I'd say he's actually the most consistent out of all the guys in walk racing for qualifying, because he's always been on the front row, I believe, for all 6 races so far. Ryan Callan will start 3rd after his front row slot in race 1. Tom Ely, what an effort again, worrying the walk racing boys up in 4th place. He's going to be certainly a man to watch to try and get himself in and amongst the action. Klaus Neering 5th, ahead of Peter Hennenberg 6th and Gus Verver 7th. The 3 new guys in both for TPS and for walk racing are all pretty much starting around each other. Ben Haxon 8th, highest Optimum Sim Racing car. Good effort from him to get himself in the top 10 once again, with Diogo Silva 9th, and a rather lacklustre qualifying again from Jesper Tolborg. But again, we saw what he could do in race 1, 7th to 3rd, so don't rule him out at all. Don't be surprised if he does come up towards the podium. Again, another driver of the race if he can pull that one off. 11th quickest is Matty Orban with Andrew Erring in 12th, and Lewis from 13th downwards. I'll let you continue with the rest of the grid.
Yeah, Paul Crawford gets himself up into the 13th position, followed by Xavier Di Carvalho, Jonathan Ockerklint, Ryan Walker in 16th, and John Monroe. He battled his way up into the top 10 in the previous race from a position not too far, so he could be another one to watch to move himself up. He's followed by Luis Fernandez. I think they've qualified in the same row last time as well, and Andy van der Velde behind. Then it's Razvan, Hughes and Emmons to finish off the 22 cars we had for the second race of Oran Park.
So let's quickly look back towards the front of the grid then. The front row already in place, with Campfield on the right on pole position, Patrick on the left, R71. Then Ely, then it's going to be Alan and Ely just readjusting his grid slot, with Hennenberg and Neering and Hennenberg behind Verver and Haxon, Diogo Silva and Jesper Tolborg rounding out the top 10. Here come the revs then, ready for the start of race 2. Lights are up, ready for race 2 here at Oran Park. Lights out, and we are racing once again. Good equal launch from the front row and from row 2 as well. They all get away equally. Looks as though Hennenberg has got the run on Neering, and Ely, look at the launch he's got, going wide down to try and get the kind of cutback he can get on either Patrick or Campfield. Down towards turn 1 they come, and Ely will slot in behind Callan if he can. And Campfield's already gone too deep. The patch has gone too deep, in fact, again, as he made a mistake he made back in race 1, and it has cost him, because that means that Callan's got through again, and Ely might take advantage of that, also down towards turn 3. And now Ely finds himself hung out to dry through the exit of the corner, which puts Hennenberg on his inside, and Haxon's already up there amongst the racing cars, as there's been some contact in the back.
Yeah, it's alright, it was just Haxon and all that stacking up behind Ely, it's fine.
So back across the bridge for the first time. Look at this, they're pouring through 2-3 wide through here, fantastic stuff. Tolborg is up to 9th past Silver, so one spot made up, and looking to try and get 8th from Gus Verver. These two battle amongst each other all race long, but it's now role reversed as you see Silver all over the place and just tags Werrick. He gets sideways across the gravel. How on earth did he catch that incredible piece of car control? And Walker gets himself in front, and also possibly Carvalho could go with. In fact, he has done. And Crawford across the grass as well. So a frantic first lap. But so far, is that more contact in front also? I think there might have been a little bit more with one of the walk racing cars. But across the line they come. Canfield leads it, but again, being kept honest at the front.
Yeah, I've been told that Waring's going to be coming in soon for a drive-through penalty because I believe he jumped the start. That's what I've been told. I don't know if that was the truth, but yeah, apparently he may have to come to the pit lane for a drive-through penalty. Paul Patrick's been off at turn 1. He's going to go into the barrier. Oh, is he going to keep it? Yes, he is. It's okay. He'll just get that one going and see what he can salvage from this race. Oh!
And that's car 93. That's Otterklint. The Otterklint has been shoved off into the tyres. And he lost it by himself under braking. Tagged Van der Velde. Oh, and they just clipped. Yeah. I think that might have been Paul Crawford, I think, in the independent car. So he did that all by himself. And he continues on. Shame. They're back towards the front. And it is Capman who leads them, with Cowan once again keeping him honest. Ely's now up to third, with Peter Henneberg in fourth, and Ben Haxon, look at that so far, for fifth position, nearing sixth. And then Verver seventh, Talborg, Silver, and Walker rounding out the top 10. So a great run so far. But again, opening couple of laps, very eventful. But so far, apart from Ely being the catalyst in this one so far, and Haxon, it's all walk racing so far.
Yeah, I see John Monroe's moved himself up into the 14th position, so he's obviously made a good start, moving up 3 positions over the previous 2 laps. So he's trying to move himself up towards that top 10 slot again, and we'll just have to see if he can actually pull it off. Nevertheless, for the lead, it's 7/10 being the difference between Callan, but he showed it in the last race that Callan really couldn't keep up with Campfield, so it could be a second place in a row for Callan if he doesn't make any more mistakes as Henneberg attacks Ely for the last spot on the podium.
Henneberg in car 35, the car with the green wing mirrors. To detail that, of course, they've got different colour wing mirrors on the racing cars to differentiate with different drivers. And now Haxon's going to have to look in these mirrors, and Henneberg should look in these mirrors, because of course Haxon is putting him under pressure himself. That's for P4. So what a drive from Ben Haxon, certainly making a few people sit up and take notice as Otterklint goes through, and that's sideways there for. I put the commentator's curse now. I don't believe it, because he's sideways through Foster's corner, and then managed to gather it back up. But he hasn't lost a place so far, thankfully. But it has lost him several car lengths and put both Klaus Neering and Gus Verver and Jesper Talborg snapping at his heels for 5th place. In fact, there goes Neering up the inside, forcing to get himself some room. Haxon has to yield it. And Neering on the exit, will he get the run he needs? Also, that's now put Talborg, ironically, up the inside of Verver for 7th place. So now again, it's Talborg attacking Verver rather than the other way around.
Yeah, they were doing that all the last race. See who's going to come out on top. I think it's going to be Verver, who had the double slipstream. Ben Haxon slightly sideways into turn 2. Yeah, he's going to be over. He's into the gravel.
So that's, unfortunately, that's now 2 Opton Sim Racing cars in the space of 4 laps that have lost it down towards turn 2. So I think there's a recurring theme here, Lewis.
Yeah, it's just showing that turn 1 and 2 complex is very, very difficult as Ben Haxon slightly stacks up Jimmy Hughes and Luis Fernandez behind, who's left Jimmy Hughes up into that 14th position. This pushes John Monroe up into 12th. So again, making some even more progress. As I don't know if I saw anyone flick around there. It might have just been me, but yeah, Ryan Callan is staying within a second at the moment. We'll have to see what it is at the second split. Slight cut there, however, from Ryan Callan before the dogleg.
Watching these guys, of course, going at it. Of course, Jesper Talborg is now up to 6th, and Diogo Silva's made his way through, also past Gus Verver, so it means he's back down to 8th and being put under pressure by Ryan Walker in 9th position. The Scotsman now showing some good form to be up in the top 10 and keeping these guys honest. Campbell puts in the fastest lap of the race, 1:18.975. So we are getting near to qualifying pace, as now we see Verver trying to start the charge back. There is a car in the pit lane. I think that might be Matt Emmons. But down towards turn 1 they come, very fast, King under braking again. Is anyone else going to get sideways a little bit there from Silver? Small twitch, may have been helped loose a little bit by Verver. He might give a bit of a tap on the back end of his bumper as they come back underneath the bridge. And once again, this is now for 8th place. So Diogo Silva in the black and orange car, and of course it's Gus Verver in the black car with the gold graphics on the side, and of course it's Walker in the white, black and blue machine behind car 95. They head back up the hill once again, and intriguingly also, Ely's in 3rd, but being put under pressure from Henneberg.
Yeah, Henneberg's really trying to attack him to get that podium position, as I said a bit earlier. Behind, obviously, you got Jesper Tolborg and Klaus Nyring going at it. Jesper trying to move himself up further, obviously qualifying in that 10th position, which is not where Jesper wants to be. So he's trying to push on for the broadcast run slightly wide over turn 9, and he's just got to keep close to the back of Nyring, who wasn't up this far in the previous race. So Jesper's got some learning to do as to how Nyring's driving this car.
A minute improvement to Campbell's fastest lap of the race, 1:18.950. So faster by a quarter of a tenth. Again, back under brakes for turns 1 and 2. And it was Matt Emmons in the pit lane, I was correct, about a 97-second stop there. So some substantial damage needed repairing. But Nyring now holding on to a top 5 place, but not if Tolborg's got anything to say about that in the near future. I'm sure he always does, even though he doesn't talk too much in terms of interviews or really to anyone outside his team. But he does at least do all his talking on the track with his racing. And Tolborg certainly is a much loved figure in TPS and a very popular figure, and of course the most winningest driver in TPS history, with many championships to his name. And how he would love to try and add the 2014 VMC to his sim racing CV, but of course he's got an uphill climb to try and get around the walk racing cars, one of which is situated right in front of him in Klaus Nyring, and of course he's putting under enough pressure. So I wonder now, Lewis, if possible we get a chance to see whether or not Nyring reacts to the pressure well, or whether or not he cracks under it.
Yeah, no, how I said earlier there, Tolborg's very patient. He'll wait for someone to make a mistake, but the problem with that is he's never really aggressive with his moves. He doesn't force a move. He doesn't go for the gap, as it were. He kind of waits for it, as Jesper gets a nice little slide out of turn 1. But yeah, he just waits for the move. He doesn't really aggressively push his car into that position, and that's why he doesn't. I think in the total time of his TPS career, he's DNF'd 4 times, and 2 of them on the same evening. Because of that mental attitude of not putting it in a position where you're aggressively attacking for a position. He's just not DNFing. He's consistently bringing home the results. That's why he scores so many times, and why he's won a lot of races, because he's very patient. He's more patient than pretty much any driver that I've ever seen before, and that's why he's good at what he does. So but sometimes, especially when you qualify 10th, you need to be a little bit aggressive. You need to fight your way through. So Jesper kind of just needs to be a little bit more aggressive on some of these starts against some of these guys.
Speaking of aggressive, of course, Henneberg is keeping Ely honest. Of course, this is a great drive for Ely to keep it in the podium place once again, and Henneberg is certainly not going to give him an inch at all, as again back onto the pit straight once more. And Henneberg is close enough this time to try and get a move. He's tucked himself right underneath the pink rear wing of that puppy racing car. And where will he move this time? To the inside, outside? Let's see what he's got left in him. And what's intriguing also is that there is a puppy racing car in the middle. Almost Henneberg almost goes to the middle of them. Now that, I'm sure, was a bit of an indirect, sneaky tactic there, I guess, from puppy racing to kind of just help Tom a little bit. Of course, not that it was deliberate underhand tactics. Just a bit of the fact that more of a coincidence, really. I think the fact that that car was in the way. I think that must be Andrew Waring, because of course that's he's the only other driver I can see that's got the same livery in terms of puppy racing as Tom Ely.
Yeah, I think the other two within that team have a grey addition to that car, as opposed to the pink. With that being Oscar Hobbing, I believe Chris Shepherd, if I recall correctly. But yes, it was definitely Andrew Waring, sort of sitting in the way a little bit. But he's just trying to let these guys past as early as possible, and it was just coincidental, of course, to all degree that someone might have been trying to overtake his teammate. As someone hit the wall on the exit. It was just a sound effect that freaked me out a bit more. It's okay.
Back towards the front very quickly, and the gap is stabilised pretty intriguing enough. Oh, as I say that, Ryan Callan, that's not going to close the gap at all. 1.2 seconds, and he's possibly just lost about another second or so because of that. Let's get a bit of a replay on that one. And let's look at some sideways action here. Look, sideways under braking, just catches the rear wheels on the edge of that edge of the circuit. But good car control to keep that one going. And just touched the grass. Luckily gets it all gathered up, and away he goes again.
Indeed. I see Henneberg getting a little bit sideways, but it's okay. He just got to go a little bit going over the bridge. It's okay. I'm just wondering when, how much time Jesper Tolborg is going to close up to the back of Henneberg if he can at all. Obviously, he's got lap traffic between when you include Andrew Waring, so it's a bit of time that he has to gain.
Looking back at Paul Patrick after he lost it twice in 2 laps at exactly the same corner up at turn 1, but he is now charging back through the field, making a move on Jimmy Hughes of Mad Cape for 13th spot. And his next target is going to be Luis Fernandez, who I think he's in a battle himself with John Monroe, and that is over, of course, 10th and 11th spot. Although actually John Monroe is actually more occupied trying to charge after Matty Orban in 10th place. And just looking behind, Jimmy Hughes again. They love to get sideways under braking for turn 1, because again, Jimmy Hughes just had to try and gather that one up pretty quickly. And
it's just a problem with when braking. You've got to do it pretty much, almost 100%, which is where you can run. I think low anti-lock brakes in this, so you can actually run it all the way up to high, but generally low. If I recall correctly, it's the same as last season. But you need to basically brake completely, all 100% through a turn like that, because otherwise, as soon as you start lifting off, as soon as you go to about 20% brake, the back of the car is just like, nope, I'm not going to grip anymore, and I'll slide round, and that's why it's so easy to make an instance. And when you're downshifting, it really unsettles the car. So that's why you see so many incidents down at turn 1 and turn 2.
Now, intriguing enough, also looking at the gaps, the incident with the slide that Ryan Callan had actually lost him 2 seconds, because the gap is now 3.3, and just to rub it in, now how's that for metronomic? Because literally, Adrian Kempford has improved the fastest lap time by quite literally 1/1000th of a second, 1:18.949. So that's just how metronomic his lap times are. And of course, Adrian does have real experience in a real race car, of course, in single seaters in the ADAC Masters single seater championship, or Formula ADAC Masters. As we see a bit of a change of position here as Patrick gets around. Gets around Luis Fernandez, crouches the curb, put on 2 wheels. Certainly coming back through the field. He's certainly doing it putting on quite a show for the fans as well as coming through the field in this race. So Patrick certainly is the showboater at this point.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, especially considering what happened to him earlier on. Pole position and then on the front row, and really just hasn't put it together in the race so far, and it's just losing him so much position in the championship. He's really got to put himself really far up in the championship, really far up in the races, start winning a lot of races back to back to back, and hope that Canfield gets some poor luck go his way if Patrick wants to win this championship. Obviously plenty of rounds to go afterwards, but it's a long road ahead of Paul Patrick if he wants to win this.
Now, what's intriguing is that what you said might possibly happen has happened. Look at this, Jesper Tolborg all over the back of Peter Hennenberg for 4th position, and of course Tom Ely's not too far in front. Now Tolborg again from 10th this time on the grid could be staring at a podium, and we're only at halfway through the race, so Tolborg showing some incredible speed. Now, of course, he's got quite a task to try and close if he's going to close up, to try and get himself anywhere near, I would have thought, Callan and Campfield, but certainly won't stop him trying as they come through. Now, Ely's got the inside run. Henneberg looking a little bit to the outside, and Tolborg trying to go with him, this time looking to the same line as Ely has. So they're all closing up now in best of the rest for the top 10. As Ely, Hennenberg and Tolborg all together, and behind them it's this great 4-car train, which is also closing in on this battle to make it a 7-car snake. It's nearing Silver, Verver and Walker all together. So I think the catalyst here is Ely, because of course he is running in 3rd position. He's doing an incredible job and a great defensive drive, but it is starting to concertina the foot up a little bit more, and as a result we're getting this potential that we're going to have 7 cars battling for a podium spot in a couple of laps, Lewis.
Yeah, the thing is with Henneberg right now is that he can't try go wide and then come back for the cutback anymore, as he's run a little bit wide at turn 12, which is going to give Jesper the slight run down towards turn 1. But yeah, he can't really go wide and then try and get the cutback, because that's this is exactly what happens. He's going to open himself up for Jesper Tolborg, who I think will drop behind. Yep, before turn 1. So Henneberg keeps P4.
Smart move there from Tolborg to try and drop in rather than make a dive bomb. There could be possibilities we said that could be his more conservative nature, and rather than choosing to kind of sit back and wait for his moment rather than attack. But again, with a move like that down towards turn 1, you have to sit back, because really, there's a corner where it doesn't take much to get to for a move that you're making on a driver to go horribly wrong. As long as just all it takes is just missing your braking point by literally a split second, and it can be the difference between making a heroic pass and making a heroic fool of yourself.
Indeed. It's very, 0 to 0 moments very quickly as Henneberg's run off over the grass. He's rejoined into the side of Jesper Tolborg. That's the second time walk racing has rejoined into Jesper Tolborg, so I'm sure he's getting pretty irritated at it now. Not that I've really ever had JT irritated, so... but yeah, he's going to close up to the back of Tom Ely now and fight for that podium position. Obviously, we said he started from 10th position as Jesper Tolborg, so he's done a great job to put it up to P4, and now with only one car in front of him to put him onto the podium and 10 laps to attack it, well, I think it's 9 laps to attack for that podium position, is hopefully JT's going to fight for that podium position very, very shortly.
Oh, and Henneberg with a huge slide again, and somehow threaded his way through this front. He's nosed it into the tyres, and I'm pretty sure that is race over for Henneberg. Indeed it is. And that is a shame, because he was running so well, and we will get a replay of that very quickly to see exactly how that all came about, and we'll give you a bit of a slow-mo, and we'll play it in real time here. So down towards turn 1, he pitches it in, the back end's coming around already, hits the bump, and again you can counter steer it as much as you can, and claps it over the curb and whack straight in. And that really has not done him any favours, and that is more drop points. And we lost actually quite a few drivers. In fact, we lost, of course, Ben, lost Matt Emmons, Paul Crawford, Andy van der Velde, Andrew Waring, and now, of course, Peter Henneberg. We're down to just 16 cars left in the field. At this rate, we'll have no one left.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, with race 1, everyone's kind of, I'll just keep going to the end of the race. Just get myself into the rhythm of the track, maybe practice for qualifying and get ready myself for race 2. Whereas race 2, when you've messed up your race, a lot of these drivers are just like, no. Even though points, they go down to 20th for this, so it's kind of just go on and finish the race, score some points. But a lot of these drivers are just kind of like, I'll give it 2 weeks and come back and give it another go at the next track.
Back under brakes through turns 1 and 2. The fight for third still going on. Ely holding off the affections of Tolborg, who himself is trying to fend away the attacks of Klaus Neering in 5th position. With a great run from Diogo Silva as well. We said he could be quite prominent. Had a great run in the first weekend at Curitiba, putting in pressure on Chris Butcher, because now once again finding some pace here. Obviously, it's clear that Zolder wasn't a circuit that was to his liking. Now we're back at a circuit like Oran Park, which is the infield sections here a little bit more similar to somewhere like Curitiba. It's more beneficial as Ely again gets sideways through Foster's corner, back towards Momo, pitches it in through the left-hander. Just to give you an idea, of course, it's Ely in the pink and white machine for Puppy Racing. Then it's Tolborg in the black, red, and silver machine for THR. Then the black and gold car of Klaus Neering, then Diogo Silva in the black, white and orange machine behind in 6th spot. So 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th all together just like that, and Tolborg now has the run he needs back down towards turn 1. Can he pull to the inside this time? Now he thinks about it, he's got himself in a brilliant position, and he will have to give him space down towards turn 1. This could get a little bit messy, and Tolborg somehow does not get that car sideways, under brakes, beautiful pass up into P3, great move.
Yeah, that was a really good move. That was a nice aggressive one to get himself into that podium position. And Tom Ely, I think he'll try and fight this one back, but I don't know if he's got the pace in comparison to Jesper. Tom Ely's come under attack from Nyring, and he's going to try and keep hold of it. Yes, he does. A little bit of a nudge there, but keeps himself in 4th position. So Jesper Tolborg now up into the podium position. A long way to go to Ryan Callan. I don't think he's going to be doing it. Diogo Silva is having a look. I think there was a little bit of contact. Yes, it was. A little bit of contact between Diogo Silva and Klaus Nyring, as Nyring is now fighting for Tom Ely for that 4th position. This is all action on this current lap, as a bit more contact between Ely and Nyring, and Diogo Silva now having another look.
And of course, remember, this is all again also bringing in Gus Verver and Ryan Walker into play with this one as well. And also, don't forget, Paul Patrick back in 9th is only 4 seconds away from this, as they're all starting to concertina. And I've said it time and time again, the harder these guys continue to fight amongst each other, the easier it is for cars to take advantage of it. And of course, now look at this. It's put Gus Verver in a position to try and challenge with Diogo Silva, as now Nearing has a run on Ely for 4th position. And look at this bent in the background. Silva and Verver side by side down towards turn 1. Silva goes a little bit too deeper as they get in front. We see there, that is now Nearing forces his way up the inside of Ely now for 4th position. And now what has Silva got left in the tank here? Can he come back up the inside? He's got to attack and defend. And Ely again coming back around the outside. If he can pull this one off, that'd be a fantastic pass. They're going to go side by side. Ely holds the line. Silva getting himself involved now as they go side by side. Again into the corner. And I think Silva nudged Nearing a little bit. He's now put himself into the side of Ely. This now puts also Verver and Walker into play. Walker sat back thinking, yeah, scrap amongst yourselves. I'll take the spoils of it if you guys all come together. And incredibly, look at that, as again you can see Verver throwing up the inside of Ely and trying to get him to make a move here. It's a fantastic racing here down the bottom end of the field. And these guys, of course, whilst Tolwell waltzes off into the distance already by a couple of seconds, these guys are hard at work scrapping amongst each other.
Yeah, the problem is with these cars, once you start dueling and then once you start going wheel to wheel with someone, you lose time like nothing. When you look at the VSS and the VCC in the previous seasons, these rear-wheel drive cars, when you start battling those, you might lose a few tenths a lap if the battling's clean. In these, doesn't matter how clean the battling is. From what I found, you lose a second a lap. When you start battling with someone, you get so disadvantaged, and that's why you end up having drivers work together and work in single file quite a lot of the time, and just to get themselves around. As Tommy takes a very different line to the rest of the field through turn 2. Obviously, he wants that P4 back, or even P5 even back from Diogo Silva.
And Diogo doing a grand job to hold on to a P5 spot at the moment. Ely's race is kind of stamping on a little bit backwards. Started the course on row 2 in 4th position, got as high as 3rd, and then the past few laps just seems to have, whether or not it's tyre wear, and whether or not it's just the fact that the car's not effectively handling to his liking, or could be getting a little bit worked up by the fact he is in a pack of cars, having to fend off attentions from so many different drivers. Could be factors in the reason why Tom Ely has dropped to 6th, and he's possibly continually coming under pressure from Gus Verver. And there at the tail of that field, you can see just in the background by Ryan Walker, would you believe, that is Paul Patrick. So Paul Patrick is doing a grand job so far to close in, and he certainly could now be a fact. He's been setting lap times incredibly quickly, and he's sailing up to the back of this group. And I wonder, Lewis, possibly if he's looking at that thinking, right, you lot, all 5 of you, you are mine if I get close to you.
Yeah, it's all good to close up. It's another thing to get past. Once you've closed up to someone, you've come out that clean there. As much as like the pace differential, I think I was discussing this with a friend, and roughly on most tracks, if you're 2 to 3 seconds faster than someone, once you close at the back of them, you should easily be able to get past. But when you're talking half a second, maybe even a second faster than someone, once you've closed up to the back of them, you don't actually have that much of a pace advantage when you think about it to make a move from corner to corner. Whereas when you're running 2 to 3 seconds faster, it's just kind of, you're running a lot faster per apex than they are, whereas when it's only a second or half a second, it's not actually that much when you think about it. So it might be difficult for Paul Patrick to work his way through this field.
Very true, and this is the view that he's got right now. His first target will be Ryan Walker to try and move himself into 8th spot, past the Scotsman in the Optimum Sim Racing car as they head back now through towards the dogleg for the 19th time out of 23. But it's of course, as already Campfield has started his second lap, his 20th lap I should say. So with now less than 4 laps to go now, but for the leaders, back onto the pit straight they come once again, still looking at Paul Patrick's perspective. He now looks to try and chase after Ryan Walker, who himself is busier attacking Patrick's teammates. Just Verver now for 8th spot. Could this end in tears if he's not too careful? No, slots back in, he's smarter than that. And here comes Patrick with a big dive up the inside. What about a move? Definitely was trying to make the move better. And Nearing's gone wide. Yeah. The exit of turn 2, and that's easy then a plate pickings for Paul Patrick. Past his teammate, and through he goes into 8th spot, and Walker's up to 7th also as well. Pretty simple stuff from the pair of them, but it was Nearing's position to lose, and unfortunately cracked under pressure and he lost it.
Yeah, I think that's the 4th walk we've seen go off at at turn 2, so I think it's Walken optimum territory off there. And that's the thing that, I mean, Eyring was running in 4th position before that mistake. It's such a shame for him to have dropped that many positions. Also, it's such a good race so far from him, but Paul Patrick right on the back of Ryan Walker now. Where is he going to make his move? He's probably going to be a bit patient and see what kind of run he can get off of 12 towards 1 and 2, and maybe even make a dive in between the 1 and 2 section, which will be pretty risky, but he's going to actually have a go at 12 as Ryan Walker runs a little bit too deep, and Paul Patrick moves himself up into 7th position.
So more great racecraft then from Paul Patrick up into 7th place, and he's now got 3 laps to go, and I wonder now, with a bit more clean air and distance between himself and the scrap for 5th between Gus Verver, his teammate, and Tom Ely, I wonder what kind of progress he can make on these two to try and close in. Now, of course, Silver's not too, it's just in front of them as well. So there's always a chance that if he has got enough in him and enough to close in, he may possibly try and take advantage of that. Get on the brakes, you can see Patrick is now already onto the rear bumper of his fellow Walk Racing teammate. Through the champion curve they come and back towards the Dunlop Bridge. Across they come. And I wonder now if Patrick's going to possibly set up his teammate here for a pass at some point very soon. If not, into the same place he was able to take Ryan Walker a lap ago. Through Foster's, up towards the left-hander at Momo. Under brakes once again, they'll start to climb uphill once more towards the dogleg. A very, very tricky sequence of corners here, right and left. You get to the apex of the one on the left, as you come to the crest of that hill. And that's just there, we get to see the rest of the track. In fact, as you're going up there, you can't see it. As again, there's contact! Verver hits the back of Ely, gets them both sideways, and that now puts it bulked Patrick a little bit. But now look at this, Patrick moves to the inside now to defend from Ryan Walker, who's got a great run off the back, off the corner. And you can see here, that's intriguing. Look, that's I feel inevitable. That's quite crafty there from Walk Racing, as you see there now. Verver's let Patrick go. They're both taking each other off.
Yeah, Paul Patrick and Gus Verver took each other off.
Oh, absolute nightmare.
Careless.
And the man that benefits from all of that, Ryan Walker into P6. Cheers, boys. Thank you very much. Up into P6. I'll take that any day. You just scrap amongst yourselves. And that is exactly what you said Carbonaro Andre Bogdan, the man who looks after Walk Racing, did not want to happen. He said, do not take each other off. And what's happened? Again, cardinal sin. Do not take your teammate out. And technically, well, he didn't take him out. He certainly ran him out of road. And yeah, I'm pretty sure Mr. C will be having stern words with those two when they go back to the pit.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. From what I saw, I've not seen it. I've not looked back and had a little quick replay of that incident. But from my first shot of that, it looked like it was just Paul Patrick carrying a little bit too much speed and trying to basically close off the corner to Gus Verver, and it cost them two. So yeah, it was a bit of a silly move from Paul Patrick, if I'm honest.
Well, quick check-in though. Hardly talked about them all races, I guess because they've just been out there setting the pace at the front. This man, Adrian Campfield, has been just spread-eagling the field in the Walk Racing car. And there he goes through turn 2 to start to carry on with his final lap. Ryan Callan did well to keep with Adrian in the early laps, to keep the gap to just over a second. Then the small mistake he made dropped him a couple more, and now eventually he's down to 5.3. But still, encouraging pace from Ryan. And of course, definitely a pace that he should be very happy with and very satisfied with also. 2 second places. Definitely strong championship points you can take away. And of course, Tolborg, whilst everyone else has been scrapping behind him, again, you have to commend him. Again, this time from 10th back to 3rd. There is no stopping this guy, really, is there?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's the same podium 2 races in a row, and Adrian Campfield looking for his 5th straight race win. Very, very impressive drive from Campfield at the moment, and he's heading towards the final corner, and a great evening for Campfield and his championship charge.
It is going to be another double up on victories for Adrian Campfield out the final corner. He'll try and get around the back marker. He'll simply let him through and share the limelight. What a performance tonight. Again, 2 dominant drives from Adrian Campfield. He takes race 2 and completes domination of Oran Park here. 2nd place goes to Ryan Callan with a pair of brilliant 2nd places. And what can you say about the Iceman? Again, he impresses once more. 10th to 3rd. And 2 podiums to round out a great race, and crucial points for him. Diogo Silva, what a drive from him, 4th. He's got to be overjoyed with that one. As you can see, Toggy has to hang on for 5th, and Ryan Walker took advantage of an impressive, a less than impressive mistake between both Verver and Paul Patrick, and amazingly just holds on to a top 6 finish on the line from Gus Verver. Klaus Nearing will finish up in 7th place with Paul Patrick, Klaus Nearing 8th, with Paul Patrick 9th, and Matty Orban rounds out the top 10. Jimmy Hughes is 11th, from Luis Fernandez in 12th, and John Monroe 13th, and Javier Di Carvalho 14th. And the rest of the field is still starting to come through as we have a look and see exactly whereabouts they would be. Let's see, John Monroe's come through right now, Javier Di Carvalho. Here comes, I think that's Archik Razban coming across the line. Yes, it is. And Jonathan Otterklint was the last man to come across in 16th with our 6 retirements in the field. We're going to take a very short break as well. We're going to get the drivers in and have a chat to them to get their reaction from both races. It's Adrian Kempfel doubling up on victories. We'll get his reaction and everyone else on the podium and throughout the race in just a few moments' time. Back in 2.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
And welcome back to the post-race part of the broadcast here for round 3 of the 2014 Virtual Mini Challenge here at Oran Park. 2 victories for Adrian Campfield along with a pole position to round out an incredible performance here again to strengthen his champ lead. A quick reminder, of course, it's not the only racing you'll see from Oran Park, because next Monday it is going to be the Clios. Virtual Clio Series will be happening here. Of course, THR once again the dominant force there. Camel likes Alexander Lauritsen once again take victories, or will he be challenged all the way by his rivals? Stay tuned for that next Monday, of course, back at Oran Park. I'll be all the action there. There'll be myself and hopefully John Monroe commentating on all the action for that one. So let's quickly move forwards then to have a chat to some of our drivers in the here. We've been once again invaded in many ways by our drivers, of course, from in the commentary box. I'm going to start, of course, with the man who took a pole and 2 race victories tonight is, of course, Adrian Campfield. Adrian, again, 2 strong race finishes for yourself, 2 race victories and a pole position. Again, qualifying was the only anomaly from this weekend, but again, for you, almost practically perfect, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm really happy with that again. I just feel a little bit sorry for Paul, as I know he was faster than me in the first race and just a few mistakes let him down. But now for me, it's good. Good championship points. So I'm happy. Yeah, the qualifying 1 is literally just a case of nerves getting the better of me, and I just couldn't put a lap together. So, but qualifying 2, I managed to sort it out.
Of course, good job. Of course, also what was quite intriguing as well, of course, for race 1 is that you were able to pick your way through your teammates as well. And from there, from the front, it seemed to be as though effectively once you had the race on the front, you're able to control the pace. So, I mean, are those the kind of races that you kind of enjoy, the fact that you are in front and thinking, I am the fastest guy at the moment, I can control the pace, and from there just drive your own race and get away with it?
Yeah, that's how it was, but I'd rather it be closer, to be honest, and have a bit of a battle. So I was a bit disappointed when I saw Paul go off. But I just want to say happy birthday to Mr. C. I know he's probably in Germany right now. He's got a weekend in the Nordschleife, but I'm sure he'll be happy with this for walk racing.
Absolutely. I think, John, we're all jealous. I think happy birthday to Mr. C, and of course, I think we're all jealous to say if he's at the Nordschleife, I'm incredibly jealous at this point, I think. But, of course, going forwards, of course, you've got the next rounds coming up afterwards, going towards Poznan. Of course, we go ahead towards back to Europe. I mean, is Poznan a circuit that you've driven before? Is it one that you like? I mean, what are you expecting going forwards for that one?
I don't even know where it goes. I've never seen it before in my entire life. and I'm off on holiday on Monday, so I'm back on the Tuesday of the next race. So it gives me just a few days this time to practice. So we'll see, maybe we won't have an advantage, but it gives Paul a week and a half to practice.
Well, fingers crossed you can pull something out of the bag, but well done anyway. Great stuff. 2 pole and 2 victories. Well deserved. Great driving all around tonight, Adrian. Well done.
Thank you.
We're going to have a very quick chat also with the, if he's in here, of course, the man who finished in 2nd place in both races. Good return to form again for Ryan Callan. Ryan, before we get on to your races, just something else I want to clarify. What was going on with you at the front for that race 1 with the grid stock? Because you were creeping forward a little bit too much, as almost effectively for position-wise, you were on pole position. What was going on there?
I've got no idea. That's the first I know of it, Scott.
Yeah, if you look back on the broadcast, you'll see that effectively you were slightly more forward than Mr. Patrick on the grid slot. So effectively, in many ways, you had a bit of a trade. But again, good stuff for you. Again, it was great job for you. Both 2 front row starts for you. Once again, 2 second places. Again, return to form. You've got to be pleased with that.
I am pleased. I'm never satisfied with second, 2 second places, but that is satisfying because that was my first podium since November 2012. So we're talking 16 months since my last podium. So I'm really, really pleased with that.
Absolutely, and of course it's a testament to the strength of the team at Walk Racing. Of course, all you guys have done a good job. And has that been a factor? Of course, the fact that you do have such a large team in numbers, to have so many drivers to reference from, like the likes of Adrian and Paul, has that helped you come back and find that pace again to be up the front running again? Is it also that and the practice you put in to really help you out? Is that what's got you back up to the front?
I mean, the pace here from myself, which was never, it's like a Red Bull against a Mercedes. They're third place, but they're never quite there against Adrian and Paul. But I would never have got into the 18s if it wasn't for Adrian and Paul, because I saw what the times they're doing, and I was going, this is ridiculous. How are they doing this? And I put in the hard yards to try and get into those 18s, and I finally did, and obviously I reaped the rewards.
Great stuff. And of course, going forward to Podgland also, I mean, obviously, it's a circuit you've driven before.
I hate that track.
that answers the question I was going to ask. Is it a circuit that you like? But of course, so
no.
I mean, off the back of that, what are realistic expectations for there? Of course, do you think you can carry on the form even though it's a circuit that isn't to your taste at all?
If I get 2 top 5s, I'll be very happy there. I detest that track.
Despite the fact that you converted it, so I'm quite surprised at that one.
Well, I'm just rubbish at it, unfortunately. I'm rubbish at slow corners, so I've got plenty of them.
Well, this circuit, it's quite surprising. This circuit's got plenty of slow corners. You weren't rubbish here, so don't count yourself out just yet.
I had to work my ass off to get within like 2/10 of my 2 teammates who were just stonking lap times, and I was just lucky to profit from Paul's mistakes to take 2 seconds. It would have been 2/3 easily, but congrats to them.
Thanks, absolutely. And congrats to you, of course. 2 front row starts, 2 second places. Great job back on form. Well done, Ryan.
Thank you.
Of course, I'll hand over to Lewis. I'm mistaken for that. I should have handed over to Lewis on that one. But Lewis, who do you have to speak to next of all? Who is your driver that you want to speak to next?
I wanted to go to Paul Patrick, and I wanted to know, you had such good pace in qualifying, Paul. What kind of happened in the race? Obviously with the mistake in race 1. What happened there? With that incident.
What happened is that a pigeon flew through my bedroom window and started fluttering about in my bedroom. Cut me off.
Oh, that is really awkward. Yeah,
in all honesty, no pigeon. It was just me. I started to be a bit hesitant, and if you lift off the throttle before the curve, and the back end comes round, and I just lost all the confidence in the first corner. So.
Yeah, you had also you made the same mistake, I believe, in race 2, if I recall correctly. You had a good recovery drive after that. How'd that go?
Yeah, but I think I went off 3 times in race 2. Gas over on the last lap as well. I tried to go side by side with him. I wanted 5th place from Edie, but and then I ended up off the road again. So it was a nightmare, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Now, obviously, that's going to push you a little bit further off your teammate for the championship lead. Do you think you can close it back up over the next few rounds? These are the next few rounds, ones that you can manage in these cars.
Yeah, well, hopefully they ain't got a first corner like this one, and I'll be fine. But it's big points gap. Just obviously keep driving, getting points for the team, and that. Mr. C, happy birthday, and well done to Adrian and Ryan as well, especially. He's put in hard work and got a good result.
All right, thanks, Paul.
Great job, and we're now going to have a very quick chat. I think we're going to go to Tom Media next. Tom, your pace in race 1 was not the same as it had in Zolder. I mean, obviously, compared to Zolder, the pace you showed there, of course, because you have been very impressive and you back up with the front with the first couple of races. You found it back in race 2, but I mean, has Oran Park not been a circuit that's really been in favour for yourself? Is it more kind of case that Zolder and everything else was more preferential to you?
Well, the first time I drove the track was yesterday, briefly, and then a little bit tonight. But I just hurt by lack of preparation and lack of understanding the track. Sector 2 was pretty straightforward, so I was on the pace there. But everywhere else, I was just braking too early and just didn't know the little tricks of the track.
Of course, race 2 you picked it up, and of course you managed to get yourself a decent result as well on that one. With I think it was a top 5 for yourself, or was 5th or 6th. I'm trying to remember exactly. But was it because obviously did you treat race 1 as more of a way to find out how the car was running on the circuit to kind of give you more setup for race 2? Was that kind of how you took the approach to race 1?
Yeah, I think the track has just imprinted better in my mind for race 2. Could find more little bits of time here and there and exploited that, but it wasn't good enough.
And of course, going forward, of course, the next round at Poznan, of course, it's for yourself. Is it a circuit that you particularly like? How do you rate your chances going forward for that one? Because of course, it's quite a flowing circuit, and then for the circuits that we've had before at Zolder and at especially at Curitiba, it seems to one those kind of circuits you seem to quite favour. So, could it be one you could go well here at?
Yeah, I like Poznan. It's the track I know at least. I'm looking forward to that.
Good stuff. Well, fingers crossed that you can keep up the form. Well done for the results tonight. Of course, it's more points going towards the championship, and hopefully we'll see you back up towards the front once again in Poznan.
Hopefully, thank you.
Good stuff. Lewis, do you have another driver at all you want to speak to?
I do not. I can quite happily move on towards the Drivers' Championship.
Excellent stuff. We can do. And Jerome just put in the chat wants to speak to him, but I guess we get one line from Andrew. Andrew, just sum up your race weekend. How it was for you from your point of view.
Doghouse.
There you go, one word, doghouse, fantastic. There we go. We'll finish up that one. Of course, credit, of course, to Ben Haxon as well for a great performance from him as well, and of course to Klaus Neering and also to Ryan Walker. Well done to him. First top 10 finish of the VMC. He's very pleased with that. Well done to Ryan as well. Great job from him. A great job all round from everybody, from everyone that drove, and of course, well done to our podium finishes to Adrian Cantfield, Ryan Callan, and Jesper Tolwalk in all 3 races. So. Here's the championship standings then, going after as they have been updated. So for those who are eagerly listening, this is where you stand in the championship. So Adrian Cantfield now has a lead of 173 points compared to Jesper Tolborg, who has now taken over second with those 2 podiums, 146 points for him. Paul Patrick is now third with 120. Tom Ely with those points is now up to fourth with 105. And Peter Hennenberg is now rounding out the top 5 with 91 points. Ryan Callan is 6th with 82, thanks to those 2 podiums. Gus Verba is now 3 points back with 79 points. Then Diogo Silva with 70 points. Chris Butcher with 69. And thanks to his no-show tonight, and Matty Orban with the tops in 10th. And I'm going to quickly scroll across. Apologies for this one. I'm going to quickly scroll across and sort out the Teams Championship so you can see those are how they stand. And here they go. So, Walk Racing leads it with 293 points. THR Red second with 215. Walk 2 Racing, 161. Then Walk Racing DK fourth with 129. Puppy Racing fifth with 220 points. Optimum Sim Racing Beta with 84. Optimum Sim Racing Alpha with 82. And then Mad Kate Racing with 71. GT Competizione with 70. And THR Orange with 51. And that is pretty much that then. So, of course, as we said, next rate event is going to be the Clios going forwards, of course, as we said, on next Monday, back again at Oran Park. Don't miss that one. The next round, of course, for the Clios is going to be, as for the Minis, is going to be Poznan. That'll be in 2 weeks from now, this time in a couple of weeks. And, of course, if you want to keep up to date with everything we're doing so far, it is TouringProSeries.com for the website, Facebook.com/TouringProSeries, Twitter.com/Touring_Pro, and to watch this broadcast back in full, it's YouTube.com/TouringProSeries. Lewis, final thoughts. 2 races from Adrian Cantfield, 2 race victories in the pole position, almost a perfect domination of the round. But again, the likes of Ryan Callan back on form, and Jesper Tolberg with 2 podiums, those guys could possibly be the main challengers for the title.
Yeah, no, I don't really see anyone getting too close to Cantfield. He's got a really good championship buffer as well. And I think the only person that could, consistently get onto the same kind of pace as Cantfield is Paul Patrick. And with this round, it's dropping him quite a bit off. He's, more than 50 points away at the moment. It's a long championship. There's a long time for him to come back, but that's just a very long, a large amount of points for Paul Patrick to have to claw back. I don't know if Jesper can pull that back either. I don't know what his pace is going to... I don't see it drastically improving over the next few rounds. So it looks like Cantfield's going to be able to walk away with this one.
Of course, don't forget Paul Patrick also in the points hunt as well. And of course, Nose Guy, he'll be looking to try and rebound at the next round, of course. For those guys who stick to the end, thank you very much, of course, for watching. Of course, it has been a fantastic race weekend. We have to say thank you, of course, to all the drivers, of course, to our partners and our friends at InsideSimRacing.tv, Cancer Research UK, who we always support, Live Races, Multi-BC, SimSync Pro, and of course, Rights Studios for making a fantastic game for Stock Car 2013. And thank you to all of you for watching. For myself, Scott Woodwiss, and for Lewis McGlade, it is Adrian Cantfield extending his championship lead with 2 more race victories. Can it continue? We'll find out in Poznan in a couple of weeks' time. But until then, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time in Poland. Bye for now.
InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.